yak about science.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 26, 2020. This is your award-winning Gable Nation Media Assassination episode 1298.
This is No Agenda.
Buying the dip and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where all we do is celebrate the death of Argentinian soccer players. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
That's funny because I was going to say the only news that matters around the world except the United States is...
Football legend Diego Maradona, widely considered one of the greatest players of all time, has died at the age of 60. His attorney announced he suffered a heart attack. Maradona was the captain of the Argentina national team.
I don't think people understand how huge Maradona is around the rest of the world compared to certainly the United States.
And we should care about this because is there a great cricketer who died too? I mean,
cricket is not played like soccer. Diego Maradona in the 80s was, I mean, he was like a sorcerer. He was one of the first guys that, along with Johan Cruyff with Ajax, who could just do amazing things. And he became this uber celebrity. And it didn't matter if he got caught, with his face in a bucket of cocaine or financial crap. It was just, they love him. You could do nothing wrong with Diego Maradona. This guy is the news.
Was his stats better than Pele's?
Oh yeah. I think his stats
weren't.
Yes, they were. Definitely.
His stats were not that impressive.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad.
I did some research on this because I couldn't understand. For example, I'm listening to ABC's report.
Mm-hmm.
This is all part of the scheme to get Americans to like soccer.
Yes, of course. That's the only reason that we celebrate his death.
As far as I can tell.
Sure.
If you went on the street today and asked 100 people who this guy was, how many average Americans would say,
No. Please notice what I prefaced is that only the rest of the world cares, not America. No one gives a shit here. We don't have that culture. That's fine.
Here's the ABC Soccer Great ABC report.
Oh my gosh! I didn't expect you to.
This is network news. All the network news was doing at least 2, maybe 3 minutes of reporting.
That's unnecessary as far as I'm concerned.
Next, we are remembering soccer great Diego Maradona, who died of a heart attack. Arguably the best player of all time. His dodging, weaving, unique style of play on and off the field inspired wonder, awe, and a big dose of controversy. Some say he was the greatest ever. On the screen, a tiny speck with a mop of hair. On the field, a master of the attack. Diego Maradona played soccer like he lived life, by his own rules. Just ask England's 1986 World Cup team. In the quarterfinals, Maradona's first blow, a goal he punched in, slipping it by the goalie and the referee. Maradona saying it was a combination of his head and the hand of God. Then, just 4 minutes later, Maradona surgically cutting through England's defense, scoring what is known as the goal of the century.
There it is.
Argentina going on to win the World Cup, a dream for a boy born in the slums of Buenos Aires. He started playing soccer at the age of 3 and never stopped. A prodigy with an unstoppable left foot. Just 5'5", yet he became a giant in the sport, winning championships in South America and Europe.
Yeah,
I like at the beginning where it says unique, bobbing and weaving style. I mean, not as though any other soccer player's ever done that.
Okay. All right. You know what? I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your anti-soccer bias. I don't care what you think. He was a legendary player. He was a legendary player. And that's
Gale Sayers. Bob Gibson was.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you, John. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, and here we are arguing about a soccer player. What the fuck are you doing, man? Stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Stop. You don't know shit about soccer. I can say that. It's okay. We can move on.
Okay, well, I'll just defer to to the people that know more. I just don't get it. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all the slaves of Gitmo Nation. There seemed to be some confusion. People were thinking that we were doing a pre-recorded show. Well, I think not.
We've never done, we've done pre-recorded shows, but
not on Thanksgiving.
They're original.
Yeah, they are original. It's not some damn-ass repeat like you might be seeing now today. But especially thank you to all of the producers of the No Agenda show.
What the hell?
What? What's wrong? What's up? John?
My phone's ringing.
Oh.
I have to go hang it up.
Well, while John is
keep talking.
John is tending to important work, like looking at soccer stats and hanging up his phone. I wanted to thank every producer who has donated their time, their talent, their treasure, their knowledge, their information, their specialties, their expertise, for making this truly the best podcast in the universe. For that, I'm thankful. We may not be allowed to be together during this Thanksgiving, but we are still one Gitmo Nation family. Except for the guy who donated $2.22 today. Did you see that note?
He sent a note in?
Yes. So it's Ulrich Hansen. I think he's a knight. And, I look at all the notes, even though we won't read them below $50. He says, "Man overboard, please hear me out and don't read this in that voice." I know you are independent, so it worries me that I'm increasingly getting a partisan vibe when I listen to the show and read the newsletter. I don't like the direction it seems to be going, and I am no longer comfortable contributing financially to the show. In other words, it's beginning to sound like you have an agenda. That is not what I originally signed up for.
He signed up? Where did he sign up?
Well, here's the thing, though. It's like, this has been happening to me on the Twitters, like continuously for the past, well, I guess ever since the election. And even just following the news, just following what is going on with Sidney Powell, I mean, people are just yelling at me. I mean, this is what Twitter sounds like. A bunch of hyenas yapping at me. It's like, I guess people are not interested in other news. They want their partisan news. That's what it must be.
Oh, there's a doofus out there every so often like this guy. I mean, their Twitter's loaded with them. This is a left-wing operation.
Yeah, but this is one of our knights.
You get randomly targeted.
But this is one of our knights who is saying this from Denmark.
It was a knight?
Yeah, from Denmark.
You know that for sure?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he's a knight, and he thinks that we're partisan. I'm like, what partisanship are you hearing? I guess we can't discuss anything that is contrary to the narrative. Otherwise, you're a shill.
We have a professional shill who works for us.
I got to tell you, we are so ready for the new Biden administration. I mean, we even have the jingle package ready.
For a better life beyond your freedom, build back better. For someone else.
That's right, baby. Build back better for someone else. Here's another one.
For a better life beyond your freedom, build back better.
We gotta get Jeff Smith involved.
Yeah, with Jeff Smith, man. When he
Jeff Smith will nail it.
Oh my, yeah. We have several versions. So when we're ready to build back better, we will have just the right tone for you.
Build back better. Woo! Bend down on bended knee.
Oh, they got a full.
That's pretty good.
Oh no, they're all good. They're all good. The chorus one, just simple. It's nice.
Build back better. Bend down on bended knee.
Down on bended knee.
Down on bended knee. That's good. I like that one.
Burdens like broken ones should be. Build with blinded loyalty. Back the better ones than you. For
The lyrics.
a better life beyond your freedom. Build back better.
Oh man.
For someone else.
This is going places. Once again, this is what Biden should be using. This should be a national campaign. This is the sound of a nation right here.
Actually, that changing a few things.
You mean like the lyrics?
The sound. Well, it's just like say something, see something, say something. It's not.
Yes.
Nobody wants to.
If you see something, say something.
Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it.
It was there for the taking.
Yeah. They just didn't want it. So I've had a very rough morning. I almost thought we had to call the show off, actually.
Never happened.
The only times we've started very late is when you had complete power failure, and that's happened once, I think, maybe twice.
But we still did the show.
Oh, of course we still did the show. But I fired up the studio computer this morning, which is the Surface Pro 6. The only thing it does is run the show. Nothing ever gets installed. I'm not messing around with it. I just leave it for what it is. I shut it down after the show. So that at least I know what's going on or not going on. And this morning I started up and there was something I'd never seen before. Down at the bottom of the screen, it had this like DOS box that appeared with really big out of focus font. It's like automatically repairing your drive.
Uh-oh.
And my heart sank. And I got into this loop where it would say, okay, it repaired my drive. Then it would throw up the blue screen that says exit and go to Windows or do something else. And the exit and go to start up Windows would just take me through the whole fixing drive thing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't get out of this. So I text my personal Windows guru, Dave Jones. And he says, okay, there's one thing we can do. Otherwise, you're really screwed. And so, I had to get my Windows, like my key. Microsoft is harsh, man. You have to go find your machine's key.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that took me about 20 minutes. Then I had the key. Then I had to do command line check disk. And then Dave says, okay, one, if it starts up, do not shut this down. Do not shut this machine down. And he says, buy a new one right away. That's the advice. Because apparently these hard drives are somehow they're soldered in on the surfaces and you can't get them out or replace it. Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to suggest.
No.
I was going to say, why don't you just ghost? This is what I would normally do with a normal machine. Ghost the drive and keep it over there somewhere. And if the thing craps out, just put the ghost drive in and boom, you're ready to go. But if it's soldered in, really?
Yeah, this is the Surface Pro machine, and I like it because it's very easy to travel with because it just folds up like a very, very, very thin notebook, and there's just reasons that I like it. It has the right number of ports.
The only reason they would solder it in is to keep you from upgrading. The cheap pricks. I would never buy that machine.
I think it's also so small and so flat that I don't think they could do it any other way, but it doesn't matter. The point is, let's just hope we get through the show. If something craps out with it, then it's probably toast. So I don't know what the problem is. Let's just hope that the machine hangs in there. And I will follow his advice, of course, which kind of sucks. So I lost about 45 minutes to an hour of crucial prep time this morning. This is where you say, aw.
Give us the story. We're all sad.
Aw. Yes, please. This is where you say, aw. But I was still able to obviously get through
Well, at least you didn't get the COVID.
No, I did not get the COVID. Man.
That's my segue.
Let's go straight to where the money is, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is something very fun is kind of happening around the world. And people are just not taking it anymore. For those listening in other countries, you are already shut down. You are already locked down, obviously. But we're seeing around the world, we're seeing protests where people are just not going to take it anymore. They are sick and tired of it, and they're pushing back. Let's start with Toronto. This is the owner of Adamson Barbecue, and he is just defying the ordinance.
Enough is enough. I complied with the 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I complied again during the second wave when we locked down, when Doug Ford promised us that there would be supporting evidence to shut down the restaurants, bars, and gyms. He didn't provide it. We got something a little bit later talking about outbreaks. But the data from Toronto Public Health that came out 2 weeks ago show that two of the over 10,000 Ontario COVID deaths were linked to bars, restaurants, and retails. So why are we getting singled out and the big multinational corporations are all essential while they're packed? Come on, guys. Enough is enough. We're opening for anybody who's a fan of freedom and sovereignty, the right to choose what to wear, where to go, who to have over at your house, what businesses you can go to.
Of course.
I'd love to meet you tomorrow. I'll be there at the door in Etobicoke at 11.
Okay. Then we have the UK Speaker's Corner. The Brits have figured something out. They figured out that these chants that they're actually quite good at, they really do work. And so Speaker's Corner was trying to clear in a relatively big crowd, and they must have had 30 or 40 cops unprepared for the crowd. And the crowd just was kind of surrounding them, was not moving back, and they started chanting, and eventually the cops left. So apparently shaming them into the choose your side is effective. Now, they didn't have any guns or water cannons, but the cops kind of chose their side. Like, well, I guess we shouldn't fight against these people. Buffalo, New York, people are recognizing they have rights, and there's mandates, but there's not laws. You're not criminally, you're not a criminal if you still want to open up your business. This was Buffalo, and they're talking to the sheriff, who oddly, one of the sheriffs has a British accent, and someone from Health and Human Services of New York, who were telling them they have to shut down, and they're saying no.
We're asking to appeal to your compassionate side. I know you're taxpayer. Our tax dollars guarantee your guys' paychecks. But some of these people actually work for their money, and they don't want to lose their livelihood. I've lost friends, I've lost family who've killed themselves. I've seen clients die because they've lost their livelihood.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know you are, and I'm asking for you to guys have some compassion for the people that have lost everything.
We do have compassion for people who
Okay, well, you need to go have compassion out in the parking lot.
But
this is private property. This is private property.
Yeah.
This is private property.
Yes, it is.
It's private property. Go get a warrant. Listen, man, this is private property. They're not wanted here. So do your jobs.
Well, her job is...
Well, no, your job is to remove people that are not wanted here.
You have a
We're wanted here. They're not.
She's hiding her name tag. She had her
I'm not. It's right here. It's marked. You can see my name
They're just
tag.
doing their job.
There we go.
You should all be wearing masks. How come
I'm not
none of you
doing
have
anything
masks
wrong.
on?
Don't worry about my health. My health isn't your
You're
concern.
meant to be wearing a mask. It's a government
Okay, well, then write me up.
It's the law.
Okay, then take me to jail.
It's not the law.
Then take me to jail.
Show me the law.
Show me the law, please.
Anywhere.
Show me the law. Okay, miss,
This
you
is
need to
great.
leave.
I want
Get out!
And the chant, yes, it works. Get out, get out,
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get
and they got out and they left. So the chanting thing, for some reason, seems to work. That you see these law enforcement officers go into a kind of a brain freeze. I'm not sure why that is, and I've never noticed this before. It works.
Well, I like these chants. Get out.
Yeah.
Not that creative, but I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, I think choose your side is a good one. I like choose your side
is a great one.
I like that one a lot. Let's see. There's disgust and horror in the House of Commons.
Charles Walker.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I have just witnessed an elderly lady peacefully protesting with a handful of other people be arrested and carried spread eagle to a police van just outside the precinct of the House of Commons. This is a disgrace. This is un-British. It is unconstitutional. And this government, our Prime Minister, needs to end these injustices now. Madam Deputy Speaker, will you bring the Prime Minister and or the Home Secretary here today to sort this out? She was an old lady robbed of her dignity for having the courage to protest about having her fundamental rights and those of my constituents and others removed.
He was really the only guy sitting there. There was no one else. And of course, no one cares. At least not the officials. You got to chant. You got to get a chant going in there, man. So while health officials are trying to keep us home, this is the Austin Public Health.
An important message from Austin Public Health. COVID-19 cases are increasing rapidly in Austin, Travis County, and around Texas. Do not gather with people you do not live with to help slow the spread of the virus during the Thanksgiving holiday. Este es un mensaje importante de salud pública de Austin.
Yeah. So everyone got that voicemail and a text message and a reminder text message here in Austin. And if you decided to fly, like, oh my God, we're in a super spreader event. This is nuts. People are not listening to the CDC. They are not following instructions. But once you get on the plane, listen to the instructions you get from Delta.
The door is closed. If we have to ask you more than once to cover your nose, mouth, put your mask on, we are not going to be rude. We are not going to be nasty. We are going to simply take your seat number and your name. And when we get where we're going, you will either be arrested, fined, but you will also be placed on the no-fly list, meaning you will not be able to fly any airline for the rest of your life. We are government officials.
Oh.
This is government property. If you choose to act out of content or character on this aircraft, you will be arrested and face 20 years imprisonment, and you will also receive a $250,000 fine.
Thanks for flying the friendly skies. What the hell?
Government property.
I think somehow they've been deputized. I don't know what that was about.
What is she talking about? She's full of crap.
Yeah, but she's doing it. And people are like, oh. And you'll be banned from flying for life.
How does that work?
You'll be on the no-fly list.
Do these people at Delta know what due process is?
No. You will be arrested and fined, and you will be put on a no-fly list. For the rest, I would have gotten up right then and there. I said, excuse me, I'm getting off this prison flight. Fuck you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear. But that's what I would have said. Come on. What the hell is that? I don't need to go anywhere that bad. I really don't. It's just crazy. Let's see what CBS had to say about idiot people.
Let me tell you one quick story. Yankton, South Dakota, small town in the southern part of the state. The commission met to talk about mask mandates, and they decided no. The local newspaper said the commission wants more time to educate people. Here's a reasonable question. We're 8 months into a pandemic. How much more time do you need? How much more time do you need to educate people about it?
Exactly, David. Thank you. And please don't shove a light bulb up your keister.
And you said that with a straight face. I was thinking that too.
Well, those guys are high. Don't shove a light bulb up your keister?
Wow.
I think that's basically saying you may be so stupid that you would do stuff the president invited you to do, such as put a light in your butt. It's taking the bleach comment a little further, but I think that's what it was. Remember when he said ultraviolet light or disinfectant?
Yeah, no, I remember all that.
That became, the president said drink bleach, and apparently...
He never said drink bleach, of course.
No, of course not. But that's what it became.
I like him. That guy who wrote the nasty, or Knight who wrote the nasty note.
Yeah.
Probably thinks it's true. Let's listen to Tom McClintock. I wanted to play this clip a couple of weeks ago. I mean, when it wasn't that old. I'm sorry. When did it's about a week old because Newsom went to the French Laundry. So McClintock, who's a representative in the House, he's in the House, and he's one of the few Republicans from California that's actually in the House.
Right. Can we play a clip
from him? He does this kind of parody. He gives, this is where you get 5 minutes. You get to talk to the cameras on C-SPAN, pretty much. And I just thought this was pretty well done. This is him talking about Gavin Newsom being such a great guy.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning in defense of Governor Gavin Newsom, who recently defied his own idiotic COVID edicts as he partied at one of the few restaurants that's not yet been forced out of business. I defend him because he was doing what we once all did in a free society, make our own decisions over what risks we're willing to run and what precautions we're willing to take according to our own circumstances to protect our own health. Yes, COVID is a nasty bug, and 250,000 Americans have died while having it. But this isn't the bubonic plague. The CDC's best estimate is that if you're under 49, your chance for surviving COVID, if you get it, is 99.92%. Even if you're over 70, you have a 94.6% rate of recovery. 40% who get it don't even know they have it. And yet we've allowed our officials to ruin our quality of life over it, destroying countless businesses, throwing tens of millions into unemployment, robbing our children of their educations, and shredding our most cherished rights as Americans. Governor Newsom's night of partying should be a wake-up call for every American. Every time we step outside our homes, the risks that we face multiply. A free society assumes that its citizens are competent to assess those risks, balance them against the avoidance costs, and to manage their decisions in a generally responsible way. It's called common sense.
Yeah.
Free society is the key word there.
Yeah. But the common sense doesn't fly anymore. You can't use that as an argument today. It doesn't make any sense. You can't do that. It's a non-starter. People just have common sense. You have no common sense. It's not definable. Here's some common.
Well, it's been, the kids don't learn it either.
Well, no,
the helicopter parents keep them, sheltered until they're 18, and then
or older.
Or older.
One of our producers put together. Finally, someone did this. Put together a spreadsheet with actual data. With the likelihood you will die from a car accident versus COVID. And it's by age range because that does matter, just for your own edification. Under 5 years old, you are 7.3 times more likely to die from a car accident. Between 5 and 14, 13.5. Between 15 and 24, 10.5. Between 23 and 34, 2.5 times more likely to die from a car accident. It equals out around 35 to 44. And then
tell that to the 260,000 dead Americans.
No. The 260,000 Americans who died needlessly. That's the quote. That's what they're saying now. Donald Trump doesn't care. 260,000 Americans died needlessly. Okay. That's quite an accusation.
I like the way they morph stuff. The morphing is what's fascinating. In fact, the morphing to cases.
Oh, yes. Is now infection.
From hospitalizations and death is one, but then morphing from the one they're trying to do now is morphing from cases to infections.
Well, they're just calling them infectious. It's end of. That's what they do.
They're starting to, but I don't think they're doing it completely. They're not all falling into line here.
Well,
they're not.
I mean, okay. I hear it a lot. It's used a lot. And
I hear it too because we're listening for it, but I don't think they're falling into line. They'd stop using the word cases altogether. I'd be more convinced. Well, let's listen to the opening tease for ABC yesterday on the news. Now, we have to preface this by saying this is Tom Yamas, because unlike us who work on these holidays, they take off, the news guys and the network people, they take off the whole week.
Yeah.
And so Yamas is replacing David Muir. And you can see that he doesn't quite have the ability to scare the crap out of the listener in the way Muir's very sincere, and Yamas is kind of just walking. He's kind of faxing it in, but it's still okay.
Well, but we know why. It's because he sounds like he has to poop all the time. It just doesn't make for... Well, actually, it sounds pretty urgent.
No, Yamas is not the pooping guy.
Oh, who's Yamas? Who's the pooping guy?
The pooping guy is Pegasus.
Oh,
Jeff
I'm
Pegasus.
sorry. I can remember from now on. Pegasus poop. I got it. Okay. Yamas. Right. Ready?
Yamas is the normal substitute host.
Tonight, the holiday
ABC.
virus dangers as America is set to mark Thanksgiving in the middle of a pandemic. Millions
Is that
on the
opening
move
tease or is that rap?
It says opening tease ABC.
Okay. I just thought there was a little music. I thought there was a bump on it.
Roads and in the sky as public health officials double down on warnings to stay home. Dr. Fauci fearful of a surge during a surge. Concerns this could become a humanitarian crisis.
Oh, yeah.
A 15th day of record hospitalizations. 2,300 Americans dead in 24 hours. And the new emergency restrictions.
Hey, stop it for a second. I realize what the problem with Yamas is when it comes to doing this scary teaser.
It's not scary, first of all.
Well, it's not scary at all, but he sounds like a surfer dude. Think of him as some surfer guy. Hey, surf's up.
Okay, all right. We'll listen with that in mind now.
Dead in 24 hours. And the new emergency restrictions. Also new tonight, President-elect Joe Biden addressing the nation, predicting a long, hard winter ahead and urging Americans to make sacrifices now for the greater good, calling it an act of patriotism and saying we're at war with a virus, not one another. Breaking news from the White House, President Trump flexing his pardon power, pardoning his first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russia. Tonight, sources tell ABC News more pardons could be on the way. Feeding families amid COVID-19's staggering economic toll as the number of Americans pushed into hunger grows. The long lines at food banks coast to coast. Millions set to lose key COVID benefits right after Christmas. The Thanksgiving storm sweeping east tonight. Already a confirmed EF2 tornado in Texas as the system pushes heavy rain into the I-95 corridor. And tonight we remember a soccer legend, Diego Maradona, whose
he's got him in the tease
millions
even.
across the globe. His triumphs on the field and demons off it. We'll show you why some call him the greatest ever.
You know what?
From ABC News.
What I hear manifestation going on. These people are manifesting this whole thing. Even though he doesn't have the voice, I don't think he's quite the surfer dude entirely, but he doesn't have the commandeering voice that is meant to scare you and prepare you for this. They're manifesting something that, I mean, look at these new restrictions. It's ridiculous. There's no reason for them. No reason.
No,
there's
zero.
no reason other than don't get together with people and start talking about what we're doing. We can't. That's the only thing that seems logical is we don't want you hanging out at Thanksgiving with people. I can't have that. And we're all going to die. But it's really, the hospitalizations, it's bull crap. We're at 8 to 10%. But it's just that we saw this 8 months ago, the same trickery. There's a certain number of beds reserved for COVID, and that's usually 10%, maybe 15% of all the ICU beds. People are coming in for all kinds of other things. The hospital wants to run at 90%. And all I keep reading is, it's horrible. There'll be no more ICU beds in a couple of weeks if it keeps on going like this. And that's always the tagline. No.
I want you to play. There's another little aspect of what he just did there. When he comes out of it, he starts his news presentation. This is the clip is Rap ABC.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to see, just at a point, there's a point in here where he changes one of the variables. And I want to see if you can catch it just out of, and it's not about COVID. It's just a variable that's in there. And I would like to, and after you hear it, you can stop the clip. It's not, the clip is just a reiteration of the tease. As usual, ABC does this.
Right.
They're all starting to do it. They copy each other. So they do the long tease, and they do a reiteration of the tease after the tease, and then they throw it to somebody who does the tease again.
You know why they do that?
Because
it saves them
got no material.
Yes, it saves them from reporting anything. That's exactly why they do it. Let's fill up another minute and a half with a tease.
This is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and thanks for being with us on this Wednesday night. I'm Tom Yamas, in for David. And we begin with the Thanksgiving holiday and the coronavirus threat. The nation already in the middle of a devastating COVID surge, now facing the biggest test yet. The CDC warning people to stay home and keep holiday celebrations small or face what some fear could be a humanitarian crisis. An even sharper rise in cases some 3 weeks from now, just in time for Christmas. Hospitalizations at a record high for a 15th day in a row, more than 88,000 patients taxing medical care. And we know when hospitalizations rise, deaths soon follow. More than 2,300 in the past 24 hours, 261,000 lives now lost. And today, take a look, there were long lines at a number of airports, at least 5 million passengers since Friday, the most since the pandemic began. And also long lines for COVID testing, though officials warn it may provide a false sense of security. And now new crackdowns to slow an even greater spread. Los Angeles shutting down restaurants for the next 3 weeks. Pennsylvania halting alcohol sales at bars and restaurants overnight. And there will be checkpoints at bridges and bus stations right here in New York City to warn out-of-state travelers to quarantine. Tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci is making a final plea, saying that a vaccine is on the horizon and this week's sacrifices will save lives in the meantime. ABC's Stephanie Ramos leads us off here in New York.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything. The whole thing is off the rails to me. But what specifically was the twist you picked up on?
It wasn't in there.
This was a trick question.
It's got to be in some other clip. Oh, I see where it is. Okay, never mind.
Do you want to do the other clip that it's in?
No, it's because it's not COVID related. Okay. You just have to wait.
All right. Good one.
There was a thing in there that kind of was a showstopper, which is what's the point of stopping sales of alcohol between X?
Yeah, I looked into this. Apparently, they ran the numbers, and it turns out
they did. They ran numbers.
They ran numbers, yes, with their own little finger on the scale, and it turns out that alcohol is consumed the heaviest in Pennsylvania, where they did this, the evening before Thanksgiving. And since people will be congregating in bars to do that, they shut them down. So there's just no bars. That's when people go drink, is the night before Thanksgiving, which, of course, is a great time to go drink. But no.
Well, there goes all the traffic tickets.
And I was quite surprised to hear this about Southern California. So if you already are complying and you're just as you and your turkey, well, it's gonna get worse.
Breaking news tonight at 11. High winds and extreme wildfire danger mean power could be shut off for thousands of people in Southern California on Thanksgiving. So SoCal Edison announcing Santa Ana winds and dry conditions could force the utility to trigger power safety shutoffs. That alert has a lot of people wondering how they're going to make turkey with all the fixins if they don't have any power.
You can't cook when you don't get no power.
The high wind safety shutoff system is designed to keep its power lines from possibly sparking a catastrophic wildfire. Edison says more than 13,000 customers could lose power in L.A. County, more than 12,000 in Ventura, more than 4,000 in Riverside County, and the biggest potential impact is in San Bernardino County, where more than 42,000 customers could be without power until this upcoming Santa Ana wind event is over.
I think this is what Blow Jiden meant by dark winter. Literally a dark winter. I mean, shutting down your power. It's crazy. Wow. And what this has I've come to realize that all this science talk and people who really only want to listen to the science from the mainstream, the people that they trust, which is mainly Fauci and, Bill Gates, all the people who would really know. It has, and I think there's some answers for it, but they just hit something in their brains that brings about the belief that if you do everything perfectly, then you will not get it. And from multiple people who I've heard who have tested positive, whatever that means, and many have actually gotten sick, but they live, the ones that I know. The first thing that goes to their mind is, how did it happen? Who did I get it from? I must have scratched my nose. Did I lift my mask up? Was I walking too close to someone? And these are smart people who I know and admire. that's their first thought is, I must have screwed it up, because we've been told so many times that if you do everything right, the world will be a better place. But if you get it, then you must have done something wrong. You weren't following the guidelines. You were not exactly 6 feet. It might have been 5 feet. You might have had the mask just a little askew, or the wrong mask. And this is making people insane. First clip. This is in the woods near Boston, Ashburnham. And the law in Massachusetts is you have to wear a mask, even outside, outdoors. And so these two young women are walking in the woods, outdoors. They come across an older couple, probably my age, in the 50s, upper 50s. And this guy gets so pissed off that they're not wearing masks and it seems like just a regular guy, out with his wife for a walk in the woods. But, oh no, he completely goes nuts when he sees people in the woods outside without masks.
Caught on camera, this man spitting at two young women on a public hiking trail because they weren't wearing masks.
That's not the right approach to deal with anything.
This is a cop.
That could be neighbor dispute, anything. That wouldn't be the approach to deal with it. It was hostile, it was inappropriate, it was threatening, and it could even be assaultive.
It happened Sunday afternoon at the Mid-State Hiking Trail in Ashburnham. And when things got heated, the women started recording on their phones.
I don't care. I'm not going to wear a mask when I'm outside.
That's not the law.
The man starts to walk away.
Selfish is what it is. Completely irresponsible.
Okay, thank you so much for your input.
Then comes back, and this happens.
Okay, I have COVID.
Hail!
I have COVID. I've been tested positive.
Back here. Hail!
He's spitting at them.
You won't be soon.
Hail! Stop it!
Now police are putting this video out in the hopes someone will recognize his face or he'll turn himself in so they can get the full story.
So this guy, he probably was positive, and he was so upset that the way I read the story, I don't know anything else but what I've heard, is that he's so upset that, he has it, he says he does, and they're walking outside without masks. He decides, well, then you deserve to be infected, and starts spitting on them. And this is some severe psychosis going on here.
Yeah, that's actually assault.
Oh, yeah. That's why the police are looking for him. Although I think you're allowed to give people HIV in California these days, so that law may be changing. But the best example of what is going on with, and this may be generational, it may just be what kind of media people consume, was really well evidenced on the Dr. Drew show. And he had Andrew Santino on, who's a comedian. Do you know Andrew Santino? Because I don't. Do you know who he is?
Never heard of him.
Right.
Never heard of him.
He sounds a bit like Tim Dillon, honestly. But he had COVID, and he starts talking about the embarrassment that he had.
It's annoying, but there is a stigma, and it's not
so
fair.
Weird.
Well,
That's
because
weird.
the media has politicized it so much that if you
therefore you're like a Trump supporter if you've had COVID.
That's what it feels like. No, seriously,
my God.
It feels like if you say to somebody you got it, they just assume you must be this anti-masker, alt-right crazy person who just didn't care about the rules. Which is not the case, And
that's wild.
It feels that way in the community.
That's
it feels
wild,
that way with
man.
friends.
Hey, man.
People are weirded out about it. They don't know how to respond to it.
I've seen people. People are like, why aren't you dead? Why didn't you die? Isn't everybody die of this? No,
right.
Nobody your age dies of it.
Well, here's
nobody.
Here's the problem. I think is the stigma. Beyond the media politicizing this thing,
crazy.
There's also this shamefulness you feel of I let myself or my friends down. You know what I mean? And it's undue. It's put on by, I don't know, the social ghost. There's something about it that makes you feel like I've let people down or something. Like I've done something wrong. When truth be told, I had no idea. I couldn't have known. The person that gave it to me had no idea. So you're not putting each other in positions of who cares.
This is amazing to me. I don't think I would have the response Dr. Drew has. That's wild, man. Wow. No, that's retarded. Wild. It's retarded is what it is. This is what's happened. Is people take this as you didn't follow the rules, just like Republicans. Which is fantastic.
I don't know.
The stigma thing, I can't get my head around the stigma, though. It's so fascinating to me that you feel that. But it makes sense to me, but it's so irrational, I can't get my head around it.
Well, let's put it this way. I'll say this. I know probably 20 people that have had it. About 5 of them have talked about it publicly. So what does that say to you? In fact, a good friend of mine told me another friend of ours today who is massively famous, who has a very squeaky clean image of, kind of always doing the right thing. And he got it. And of course, he doesn't want to say anything, not for any other reason. He got it completely. He has no idea. But he doesn't want to say anything because he is afraid it'll dilute this image of, him being this kind of go by the book guy or whatever.
So let's explore this on the other side of this, which is, are you going to keep wearing a mask just to signal? You don't need to once 2 weeks have gone by.
I'm gonna wear a mask when this is over. I guess because I don't care, because it doesn't do me. Like, I got one of those. Bobby's girlfriend, Kalila, who is a lifesaver, she gave me so much great stuff to take, but gave me one of those those blood oxygenator things or whatever.
Oh, yeah, good. That's good to have, yeah.
So I've been measuring that every day, and it's been good. So I do wear the mask, and I've tried it with the mask, and it's the same number. So I was like, it's not a harm to me if it makes other people. No. Well, if it makes other people feel good in public.
There it is.
Yeah. Again, you're doing it to reduce other people's anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a signal. You're signaling cooperation, that kind of thing. It's fine.
Signaling compliance, not cooperation, Dr. Drew. Compliance.
I was at the grocery store the other day, and there was this woman wearing a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing a big black mask, and on the mask it said, "I can't breathe."
Oh yeah. This is
just like I was so if you took the mask off, you might be able to breathe. You just want to say something, but
but it's like a triple entendre. It's I can't breathe. Michael Brown, was it Michael Brown? Who was the guy the cops killed?
No, there was the guy in
the cigarettes
Long Island
in New York. Yeah, with the falsy cigarettes.
Yeah, that's the original. I can't breathe.
So that's a brain twister. And actually, the brain, I think our brains are changing, or the way they're being used by people inadvertently. Of all people, Sean Lennon, who the last time I saw Sean Lennon, I was with Julian Lennon, and Sean was in a baby stroller. But Sean Lennon was on the Max Kaiser show, and Sean Lennon's turned into this. He reminds me a bit of Ronan Farrow in a way. Incredibly smart, very well read, knows a lot. It's kind of one of these star children smarties. And not that it's just coincidental that this came from him from this podcast just this week. But he was talking about the right brain, left brain, and how today we've probably done the young people a disservice by, and that's not just schooling. Well, it is kind of schooling. It's all this left brain stuff that, listen to this.
I actually read this book called The Master and His Emissary, which was a book about neuroscience. And it talks about how essentially the right brain, which is, they say generally is creative and doesn't have language, should be the master of consciousness, and the left brain should serve the master. The left brain was designed to sort of locate a mouse in the room and grab it if you're an eagle or something. It's about objects in language and compartmentalizing infinity into something that's digestible and communicatable. Whereas like the real reality is infinite and non-compartmentalized, and that's how the right brain sees it. So the right brain is almost like the enlightened brain, and the left brain is sort of like the material world.
Right, and that's that piece of the brain that goes down the middle is making a market in reality. It's buying and selling from
colossum.
right. It's buying and selling from both sides of your mind
to
create what you perceive to be reality. But you need both sides.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is it has to do with bandwidth. I think there's an actual bandwidth of the corpus callosum, which is arguably why we had to create words or concepts, because we'd have this infinite feeling in the right hemisphere, but it actually has to collapse through this band of neurons to get to your left brain, and that's how it sort of forms into a compartmentalized reality. But what's interesting about this book is he says the master and his emissary is being upturned because essentially there's a sort of mutiny from the left brain because post-industrial society has incentives and reward structures for left brain thinking, accounting and manufacturing and a 9-to-5 job and linguistic skills and math skills. And that there's a lot of good because of that. But ultimately what it means is that the left brain is taking over the right brain, and that's critically dangerous for humanity, because the other thing about the left brain is that only the left brain can sort of conclude that things suck and it wants to kill itself.
Yeah, baby. I think that's where we're at.
Theremin.
It's too bad the brain professor doesn't want to talk to me anymore. I could have asked him about that. And I like it. I'm sure you know better than anybody on this topic, obviously.
Oh, that's good. Just insult me out of the blue.
No, that was actually an opening to hear what you had to say, that it probably was not true. What I have to
say is I'd rather listen to people crying on the TV.
Okay.
Let's go with ABC. They got some people crying.
They got people crying about the COVIDs?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Let's see.
Just hours to Thanksgiving, and tonight, millions are on the move, despite that CDC warning against travel.
You just try to kind of be as safe as you can and get home and see family.
More than 50 million Americans expected to hit the roads and skies. Our Gio Benitez is at New York's LaGuardia Airport.
When it comes to the pandemic, this is one of the busiest days at airports. More than 1 million expected to fly. Another 1 million plus expected Sunday when people return home.
I made sure I was negative before flying. I wasn't going to fly if I was positive. Then I'm also going to test again when I get home just to keep everyone safe.
And tonight, the stakes couldn't be higher. Deaths now topping 2,300 a day.
Given that we have massively uncontrolled outbreaks already, and we have health systems that are on the brink of collapse, this addition of cases is not something that we can sustain. And we are in a humanitarian crisis right now.
Across the country, new crackdowns. LA County shutting down dining at restaurants for 3 weeks. In New York, checkpoints at bridges and bus stations warning out-of-state travelers of quarantine rules. And Pennsylvania shutting down alcohol sales at bars and restaurants overnight. Dr. Anthony Fauci warning on GMA to keep any indoor gatherings small.
You let your guard down. You obviously have to take a mask off if you're eating or drinking. Try to avoid that as much as possible. A sacrifice now could save lives and illness and to make the future much brighter.
Is that Fauci? He doesn't sound like himself. He doesn't sound right. He doesn't sound
the EQ
right.
Probably at ABC.
Save lives and illness and to make the future much brighter as we get through this. Because, George, we're going to get through this.
Tonight, hospitals strained with a record 88,000 COVID patients.
They're stuck inside themselves. They can't talk. They can't stretch their arms because if we lose the ET tube, the tube that's helping them breathe, they'll die.
And caring for those patients taking a toll on nurses like Beth DeJong in Utah, who can't hold her 4- and 8-year-old kids when she gets home.
And they don't run to the door anymore because we don't give hugs when I get home.
Oh, these people have been terrorized. That's not funny, man. They've been terrorized.
I'm sorry.
We don't give hugs when I come home.
We don't give hugs. Just some more crying here, part 2 of that same report. Shorter.
They know that the first thing I do is I shower. And then I get to spend half an hour with them, and I come back and I do it again.
The families of so many changed forever. Chicago 911 dispatcher Lupe Lopez losing his life to COVID. His wife Maria is now fighting for hers on a ventilator.
having to say goodbye through a FaceTime because you can't even be in the same room. That hurts me more than anything. That I can't even be with my mom right now. I can't be there to comfort her.
Her son, Ricardo, with this message.
There's going to be more Thanksgivings. There's going to be more holidays. There's going to be more, celebrations. There's going to be more birthdays in the future. Don't make this the last one.
Yeah, this is another thing that I kept hearing. We're only 3 weeks away from a vaccine. You'd hate to be that guy that dies just before the vaccine.
Last guy dead.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my goodness.
Well, a couple of things you should note. One, in that last report, the first clip, and it's already shown up twice in the show today, is the term humanitarian crisis.
Good catch.
So this is cropping up, and it's being used as a meme.
Yeah, good catch. Humanitarian crisis. Ooh. Well, it's all coming. Exactly as we predicted, and I'm sure most people saw this because they certainly emailed it to me. This is the CEO of Qantas Airlines in conversation.
Alan, when there is a vaccine, are you going to require all of your passengers to be vaccinated before they get on a plane?
Yeah, we are looking at changing our terms and conditions to say for international travellers that we will ask people to have a vaccination before they can get on the aircraft. Whether you need that domestically, we'll have to see what happens with COVID-19 in the market, but certainly for international visitors coming out and people leaving the country, we think that's a necessity.
So what he's saying, he's not saying we're going to do it. He's not saying we're doing it. He says, I think it's a necessity and it's a setup because it is coming. And it's our good friends at the Commons Project who have now created the International Travel Health Pass. And they have an entire platform so that other apps or I would say applications and scenarios can be tied into this global platform of who has had the vaccine and or who has been tested and when. And they once again have released a video about it because they're not bashful at all.
We're very happy to make part of this very important effort. We see a lot of value in it.
It's essential for everybody that travel works and that people can have a simple, reliable and trustworthy system to get in touch and draw the conclusions they need so that they can safely travel.
We are really coming together to think about how to leverage Common Pass to reopen travel and trade, both within the continent, but also linking Africa to the rest of the world.
How do we reconcile all the different requirements into one single, simple, automated transaction for travelers, for airlines, for government authorities?
So the first element of what we're proposing is asking countries to basically publish their updated screening entry requirements using a standard format on a common framework. The next element of the framework is what we want to create is a global registry, effectively, of what are the trusted sites in your countries that are doing COVID-19 lab testing for the purpose of foreign travel, and eventually, of course, administering vaccines. Going from there, what we actually want those lab and vaccination sites is basically collect identifying information so that when someone presents those results at a border, we can reconcile this was Paul who got the test, it's the same person who's crossing my border. So that's one element. And then the second is make the results available using internationally recognized data standards. In the travel industry, obviously, as we build this framework, integrate it into your trip reservation and check-in processes. But ultimately, being able to leverage a common framework means those apps and services can actually interoperate with others around the world. First, someone actually gets tested or gets vaccinated. Their results.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, these are tech guys who are selling this, so it's actually all cool. It's actually going to work.
Records need to go somewhere in two places. One, to a national or local registry. Alternatively, to a personal health record. Here in a moment about how Apple Health works, Common Health, which is effectively the Android equivalent. So ultimately, those become common shared services. The combination of those things mean when someone actually wants to go to a country, there's an engine that effectively says, what are the current entry rules? Where was this lab test from? What's the result? Does it meet the requirements? Green or red? And that's really what the framework does. That capability, that framework, can then get embedded in many other apps and services that people are building to actually solve this problem.
I think we need to think about both the trust by the traveler, whether it's the trust of the person sitting next to them doesn't have COVID, or it's the trust of the government that is implementing whatever the platform is. And one of the big appeals from my position is the privacy protecting nature of the shared platform that Common Pass makes possible.
It's going to
be these douchebags. You said at the beginning, I didn't understand what you said.
Oh, this is the Commons Project. who talk about privacy in a common shared service. Are you kidding me? This is bad news.
This must be resisted.
Yeah, this must be fought, not just resisted. This will not stand. That's probably what people think when they think we're sounding partisan.
Now, I will say, oh, yeah, that's very partisan. I want to be...
Well, remember,
you go into a system where if they, all of a sudden they want to mandate anything...
You don't care about people's
health. It'll be on this card, and I can't move now without my papers.
That's right. That's where we're headed. That's where we're going. And I will not accept there'll be lots of counterfeit and there'll be a black market. No, we have to stop this at the top because this is just the beginning. But it is truly the beginning. I'm just going to say it again. They will push this as hard as they can. And in the world of Build Back Better, it's all in, baby. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Clip. That's disgusting, that clip, by the way.
Yeah.
I have a clip, though, that's kind of odd. I want you to play this clip and tell me what you think this is. This is the National Guard in nursing homes clip.
Elsewhere, state officials in Minnesota are sending National Guard units to nursing homes and long-term care facilities to help with staffing shortages.
Isn't this part of Operation Warp Speed?
What the hell is the National Guard going to do in a nursing home?
Well, they would administer stuff, which is coming. I think this is a part of Operation War. You asked me. I think that's what it is. I think it's a part of. Yeah, but it's the military that will be distributing everything and will be administering your shots. Oh, yeah. Speaking of nursing homes, our producer who works at a string of nursing homes who already alerted us to the Binax test with the app that goes along with it has an update. As the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is now having state health departments start the shift from PCR to antigen testing for all nursing home patient and staff testing. Now, PCR, not a test, used as a test, gives us up to, I estimate, 90% false positives, and it's bullcrap. Antigen testing is much more reliable, and listen to what he says. The testing supplies are all being coordinated by the Defense Logistics Agency, and there's your Operation Warp Speed, which might explain the National Guard. Our shipments come directly from the installation support in Columbus, Ohio. We still cannot purchase the Binax cards through the large medical suppliers, but we've been using the Binax cards frequently, and the kick-ass 33 comparator cycle threshold for this quote-unquote test has resulted in a 95% decrease in positive cases compared to the same number of tests being submitted with PCR. Well, there you go. And he adds, we are hearing a buzz among state health department leaders that the AstraZeneca vaccine will be the vaccination of choice by CMS and CDC for nursing home staff and patients. Apparently, storage of the mRNA vaccines is impossible at our level. Word on the street is that the mRNA vaccines will be geared towards the younger, non-institutionalized populace and targeted to urban areas where tighter living quarters propagate the spread of COVID, i.e., the black and brown communities, the poor people. This is good. They are going to have a full-blown DNA test, as in testing some crap out with your DNA amongst the young people of the country and the poor people.
Well, that's one way to get all the poor people and all the people in the borderline communities to get their DNA into database. That's what you want. That's what you want. What's wrong with that?
It's probably already in the database. Don't worry. They're just connecting the two. They're going to come and visit you with a new vaccine. Bill Gates now doing a podcast. I don't have any clips from that, but he was on the Daily Distancing Show with Trevor Noah, who has become a really unfunny guy. I never thought he was.
It's amazing how unfunny. He was a really funny guy before he got that gig.
I don't think did you think he was really funny before he got the gig?
Yeah, I saw before he got the gig, I went and looked up a bunch of his stand-up bits, and he was very funny. It was kind of African humor, but he did all kinds of voices. He wouldn't do any of them today. He wonderful African voices from various cultures, and he'd ridicule him. And he just won't do that material anymore.
Well, I just find him not funny. His jokes aren't funny.
Well, he's not funny.
Okay, he's not funny, but he's got the gig, and he talked to Bill Gates, and of course they talked about the vaccines. And the problem with the vaccines is, well, the anti-vaxxers, these are all Trump lovers, obviously. They're not going to take it. What are we going to do, Dr. Bill?
What have you found is the key to encouraging or convincing community members to buy into the measures that keep them safe?
Well, we had vaccine resistance with polio, and they're getting the religious leaders to speak out, to have them...
Hold on a second. I don't know what he's talking about, but I was in that era. There was zero resistance.
I don't remember resisting either.
He's just making that up.
Well, what he's saying is that maybe there was no resistance because the religious leaders set everybody up. You know, that
was bull crap too. I never heard this.
It gets better.
Getting the religious leaders to speak out, to have them visibly vaccinating their own children.
Okay, I would be all in for Bill Gates visibly vaccinating his own children with proof that it is actually I'll use the actually word, one of these mRNA vaccines. I'm all in for that. Why don't you show me, Bill? Let's do that first, shall we? Stick that needle into your kid.
You know, for a while it looked like we'd never stop polio in Africa, and yet now it's just been certified that we've gone 3 years without wild polio. So activating the trust hierarchy.
Wait, isn't that a lie? Didn't they just do something where children got polio from a Gates vaccine gambit?
This guy is really off the rails. I mean, if you want to start going into the anti-Bill Gates stuff, it can go on for days.
Well, no,
especially his actions in Africa and India, for that matter.
I'm just trying to remember. It was recently in the news, and it was, it was a scandal, which of course, I think it was a polio vaccine. I'll have to look it up.
On 3 years without wild polio. So activating the trust hierarchy and getting rid of the...
activating the trust hierarchy. What is that?
I think Trust Hierarchy is a good show title.
Yes, especially if it has to be activated.
The trust hierarchy and getting rid of the conspiracy political element to it and just reminding people, you know, in this case, it's about saving lives. In that case, it's about kids not being paralyzed. When you get people back to that very human impact, if we don't behave well, I think, you know, then it'll often come through.
Kind of nonsensical answer, but luckily Trevor Noah, unfunny, did go into the conspiracies.
Because I'm always trying to figure out who benefits from a conspiracy theory, and I'd love to know if you've put any thought to this at all because of how many people won't get a vaccine because they truly believe conspiracy theories.
Yeah, usually when you work on infectious disease, like Dr. Fauci and I do, you're kind of obscure.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what he just did there? If you work on infectious diseases like, and vaccines like me and Dr. Fauci, Dr. Bill, and he puts himself on the level of Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, usually when you work on infectious disease, like Dr. Fauci and I do.
And when he's lying again, you hear the laugh? You hear the little laugh come in, his little tail?
Little chuckle, yeah.
Yeah, usually when you work on infectious disease, like Dr. Fauci and I do, you're kind of obscure. You know, nobody talks that much about TB or malaria. So here we have this, complete turnaround where vaccines and, are they good for people are now front and center. And there's always been a small group of anti-vaccination people, and we see this with, measles vaccine. They've now got a platform, and they've sort of joined forces with some political conspiracy views. And it's so easy to click on, particularly when a simple explanation for this pandemic.
Listen carefully to what he's saying. He's describing the actual action. He finds it's too easy to click on a link and then get something that he doesn't approve of. It's just too easy. We should make that harder.
And it's so easy to click on, particularly when a simple explanation for this pandemic that, there is somebody evil behind it, is somehow easier than, the true biology, which is actually kind of complicated. So, we have to make the truth more interesting, and, we've got to label things with the truth. And sadly,
label things with the truth. Hello, this is exactly what's happening.
Hey, as he goes on, I didn't see this interview, but you did. So as he goes on, Trevor asks him, he says, well, you seem to be such an expert at this. You really are, you're a college dropout. You actually quit Harvard when you were a freshman. How did you get all this knowledge? Did you get any degrees in biology or immunology or anything? Did you went back to school? Is that what happened here? Because you really sound like you know what you're talking about.
It's uncanny.
And he did that, right?
It's uncanny. That was exactly the follow-up. In your dream.
Kind of complicated. So, we have to make the truth more interesting, and, we've got to label things with the truth. And sadly, the naivete about how to make social media work well is pretty strong, and that's coincided with the election and the epidemic. I wish I had the answer, but, it's out there in big numbers, and it just keeps growing.
Yes, exactly. You're not going to win the fight, Bill Gates. On the vaccines, AstraZeneca has now revealed that they actually made a dosing mistake to come up with their 90% efficacy. You got to get double dosage before you get the 90% from AstraZeneca. And meanwhile, doctors everywhere are really warning about the side effects of these vaccines, as every single trial had side effects. And the general consensus seems to be the shot won't be a walk in the park. That's pretty bad.
Well, don't you remember about 3 or 4 months ago when Bill Gates, and you probably still have the clip, where he talked about the shot being incredibly painful.
Yeah, let me see.
Remember this?
Yeah. It was hurt.
So this is going to hurt like a son of a bitch. It wasn't even going to be a little painful. This is going to be just a horrible experience.
It was something like that. Vaccine. You know what? The problem is I have so many vaccine Bill Gates clips now. It was Hertz, right? Hertz.
Yeah, you'll never find Hurt. You'll never find it.
No, I'll never find it. Okay, probably not. It was painful. That was the term. It was pain.
He made a big stink about it being so painful. And, of course, he didn't get any of these shots.
Hold on. We even had a really painful, I think it was. Really painful?
Yeah, it's probably mislabeled as if it was from me.
Yeah, this is why I can't find it.
That's why I said that's why I can be so sure about it. You can't find it.
All I have is an end of show song about it, but okay. Well, I'll have to look for it. Anyway, so there's lots of side effects. And
but besides being incredibly painful, did there any other ones listed? Because it sounds like it could be humorous in some sick way.
We don't know. But I do find it interesting that our nursing home doctor said that the buzz on the street is the AstraZeneca vaccine will be the one to go with, which is a traditional vaccine, which they've also never been able to do for any kind of coronavirus or common cold. But apparently this one does work.
Oh, I didn't hear this, that it was an old-fashioned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the point. It's not an mRNA.
Well, that's funny because I was watching a report. They were talking about the two different vaccines. The mRNA vaccines are going to be in the United States, and the AstraZeneca is going to be mostly reserved for Europe.
Huh.
Yeah, they made a big. Oh, yeah. Well, the AstraZeneca. Well, that one we're not going to be using that one in the United States. We're going to be using the other two.
Well, if I was forced to take a vaccine, which is you're going to have to do a lot of forcing, I would rather go with a traditional egg-grown dead virus thing than this mRNA stuff. Any day. I mean, I don't take the flu shot for the same reason, but if I had to, I might get the flu, but I'd probably survive it. So
you're not going to be able to get it. That's what it sounds like to me.
What, the AstraZeneca? That's very possible.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Shipped out.
But also interesting to note the shift to the 33 cycles and to the antigen test, because you know what that does. Once you lower the cycles,
number 33.
Yeah. Once you lower the cycles, then you can prove the vaccine works. Because people, because people won't test positive.
It's a scam.
It's a total scam, and we're not stupid.
Don't lock me down, Blow Jiden.
Don't worry, baby. Blow Jiden is gonna lock you down. There was one other thing that some Dutch scientists came up with, which I hadn't even thought about, but in hindsight, talking to some of our lab technicians who produce the show, he has a real issue with the primers and probes of the PCR. He says PCR is typically done with non-specific primers and probes. This can be established because the letters with which the primer is indicated are not fully stated. This gives the researcher the opportunity to further specify which primer he or she will eventually use. So you can use different primers and it may give you different results. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. And it's long.
Well, I think you nailed it earlier. The idea is to change things every so often to make the numbers. You're just playing with the numbers. You want the numbers to go up? Let's do this.
Yeah.
You want the numbers to go down? Let's do this.
Dial it
let's
up, dial
put
it
the
down.
vaccine out there, and let's do the thing that brings the numbers down.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a scam.
Yeah.
I mean, the disease is real. What we're witnessing is a scam.
Well, it's also a lesson in how people don't understand numbers and risk.
Well, they don't understand science. You know, everyone, the biggest people that yak about science, the Joy Behars of the world, they've never even taken a science class.
Probably not. Science. Well,
here's another thing going on. We can't miss this one.
Is this about COVID? Because I'm about to wrap it up. Is it COVID?
Another ABC report on food shortages.
Oh, I think I heard this. Or this may be a meme of some sort that I've been...
I think it's a meme, but I'm not sure what the point of it is. Humanitarian crisis.
Yes, humanitarian.
Next, in this holiday season, millions of Americans are in desperate need. 778,000 workers have filed new unemployment claims, up for the second week in a row. More than 20 million now collecting benefits. This line of cars take a look at a food bank in Miami Springs, Florida. This morning, it stretched down the street for miles. Food banks across the country say they are seeing a surge in demand, and they fear they won't be able to keep up. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Pembroke Park, Florida.
Tonight, millions of Americans lining up for food before Thanksgiving, and the crisis is only getting worse.
It's been a big help for me and my family, man.
This food bank in Bergen County, New Jersey,
Happy Thanksgiving!
has provided 670,000 meals to more than 45,000 families, and they can't keep up with demand.
We were averaging around 150 cars each Tuesday. Now it's over 500. We still turn people away because we run out of food.
The lines are getting longer in California.
It's very stressful not knowing if you're going to have enough money for your daily needs.
50 million Americans facing food insecurity in the middle of the pandemic, an increase of 43%. 1 in 4 children don't have enough to eat.
The need for food is staggering. Just take a look from our drone. The line here at this food distribution site in Miami Springs stretches for miles.
Feeding South Florida holding daily distributions since March, when they were receiving 160 truckloads of food per week. Now that number is down to just 14.
Without more funding, how can you keep this up?
Without more funding, it's impossible to keep this up. We're relying on our local farmers, we're relying on our local ranchers, on our local distributors and manufacturers to try to bring in as much food as possible, but we're trying to make do with what we got.
In Houston, more than 1 in 5 adults recently reported going hungry, most of them in black and brown communities.
It's only one zip code. It's only one zip code, so nothing to worry about.
Black and brown communities once again.
This is a meme. I've seen a couple reports about food deserts. You know, where there's no food available, there's no grocery store. But that's not typically in the urban areas, which is code, by the way. Urban is code for brown and black communities, just so you know.
You get it right. It's black and brown communities.
I'm sorry.
I've heard him say it over and over again.
I got it wrong. Well, luckily, all of this, as it appears to come to an end, although obviously we will not have any change in our situation. We will go through the dark winter up until Inauguration Day because President Trump definitely has a fourth act in mind, which we'll talk about probably after our next break. But he's already been bringing in his cabinet and his administration and the people who he wants to have in there who are going to help us build back better. And of all the choices, the funniest one was the $2 trillion portfolio for climate change, now going to special envoy, also known as a czar, John Kerry, who is already out there talking about how things are going down, and he's able to transition beautifully from COVID to build back better.
So there are things we know about coronavirus, but there's a lot we don't know about it. And yet we're doing things. We tell people to change, wash their hands, to wear a mask, to shelter at home, there are a whole series of social distancing and so forth. But we haven't turned it into a behavioral debate. Why? Because it is so visibly dangerous. It's killing people now. And climate change is sort of still out there for people. Wow. So that the debate is centered more on the behavior. Oh, you can't eat meat, or you can't, you got to close your window. You got to change your heat. You can't do this or that. Rather than focusing on the scientific choices and the expertise that is staring us in the face that says this is even more dangerous than coronavirus. Climate crisis is more dangerous than coronavirus because it will create more pandemics.
Whoa! Yeah, everybody. You know what that means.
Beyond your
Woohoo! We are going
back better for someone else.
John Kerry leading the way, paving the way. We need to solve climate change because it will only create more pandemics. Guys, just brazen.
Wow.
I thought that was fantastic. He knows how to do it.
So we need to figure out what we're going to do, because obviously this is going to be a major topic in the years to come.
Yeah.
But we have banned, even though you played a clip.
Yes, we have banned the watermelon head from being played on the show. I'm sure he'll be just as boring as ever. And we'll just have to pick up other people talking about what he
we're
did.
Going to do about this.
Well, we will have to roll with it.
I think this whole thing was done to thwart us.
Well, they're succeeding and making me feel very nervous about John Kerry being in a lot of clips, because that's not good for the show. Although this one was okay.
He's ponderous.
He's boring.
And stupid.
Well, I suggest I thank you for your courage, Mr. John C. Dvorak, on this beautiful Thanksgiving Day, and say in the morning to the man who put the C in the czar of climate, John C. Dvorak.
Yeah, well, in the morning to you too, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships, sea boots, and ground feet in the air, subs in the world, the dames and the nights out there.
And in the morning to the trolls who have been hanging in for quite a while. They're at noagendastream.com. Let's see how many trolls are hanging out with us. 1643, low count. We're low on the troll count, but I guess we'll just have to roll.
Well, it's a holiday. I'm surprised there's that many.
Yeah, but you'd think it's a holiday. People are, in the United States at least, people are sitting at home listening and chilling out.
They're putting together their Thanksgiving.
No, there's no electricity.
Drinking heavily.
There's no electricity. They have no family. So all they have is
no electricity. They're not going to be listening to the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we even thank anyone else, even the artist, do you have a Zephyr report?
Yes, the Zephyr went by.
Yeah.
Just as we were doing the intros, and it was a 7-car Zephyr.
7 cars. We're up one.
And that was because they've gone to the 3 a week Zephyrs. They've taken out the mail baggage car, so there's no additional car. There's always been this one extra car, which is no longer there. So this is technically an 8-car Zephyr. We're back to normal.
Ladies and gentlemen, 8-car Zephyr. Things are looking up. Tell everybody over at CNBC at the Squawk Desk. And right now, Bitcoin dropping like a rock, 16,800.
Oh, my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
Technically an 8-trainer. Very good. I like the technical analysis you're now doing instead of the fundamentals.
Get that detailed. You got to get granular.
It's fundamentals and technicals that we discuss here in the Zephyr report. So noagendastream.com. That's where everybody can hang out and listen to all of the shows that are streamed live. And of course, we have a number of podcasts from around Gitmo Nation, which play 24/7 on the stream. And it's a chat room with trolls, hence the troll room. And while you're there, ask someone for an invite for noagendasocial.com, our federated social network, which has no algorithms. The signal to noise is exactly where you want it, the sweet spot. It starts, it ends. No one's trying to keep you hanging around except for the great conversation and the posts from the one and only Senor Dvorak, who does no longer post on Twitter, only on noagendasocial.com.
Well, I post on Twitter if they're a promotional, like links to the show.
Yeah, promotional.
Compliments about the show.
Yeah. Promotional.
I'll retweet those.
If someone says something complimentary about the show, you're on Twitter, and otherwise you can find it on No Agenda Social. And we'd like to thank our artist for episode 1297. We titled that one Going Bananas. This was Mad Chuck 7, and I don't think he's had a score yet. This may be his debut on the No Agenda artist scene. For those who are new, we have noagendaartgenerator.com, where artists from around the globe compete to create the album artwork for each individual episode of the show, and you've probably seen
that. I forgot who the artist was. It was
Mad Chuck 7.
Mad Chuck 7. What was the art piece again?
This was the Seattle Public Schools, was a little shack in the woods.
Yes, it was a great piece of work.
Shack in the woods. He's done a couple other pieces. In the woods. He's done a couple other pieces, but didn't get chosen. We had so much to look at, and I remember I went to the restroom. I came back. You said, there's a lot, but there's one I really like, and it was this one. And even though it doesn't pop the way we like it to, it was just a great piece.
It was a good, thoughtful piece.
It was thoughtful. That's the right way to
look at it. It had
at
charm. It was charming, too.
Was there anything else that we were...
I'm looking and see if there's anything that was really...
I thought there was something that I liked.
I can't even find his.
We had a lot of people doing Going Bananas, which none of that really worked.
No, the bananas, no good. It's just like, it's too vague.
Yeah. Hi Friend on a Mask. No, there was just too much bananas. And that was kind of the title. So
yeah, we weren't going to use a banana if the title was banana.
My God, there's a lot of banana in here.
Yeah, Mad Chuck 7.
A lot of banana. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can look at all the artwork. It is part of our value for value model. I've been talking about in a lot of different podcasts. Oh,
so we're not putting Bill Gates on the artwork.
No, and Fauci. We've done all that. We've made the fun of the people, I think. So our value for value model, which has kept us going, and in turn, we hope we've kept most people sane throughout the past 13 years, into our 14th year now, as we take no advertisements, no corporate money, no money at all, except from the people who actually produce the show. They produce it with their finances. That's the treasure, with their talent, because we have talents from all, you name it. We have someone in the sector who's an absolute expert. And of course, the time that a lot of people take to send us articles, information, and clips. I am so appreciative when I see clips, especially on a day like today where I lost almost an hour. I'm like, oh, thank God, I've got some things to get us through. But I will have a lot more on Sunday than I usually would have, than I had for today. So again, thank you to our artist for episode 1297. And now we'd like to look at our executive producers and associate executive producers who have come to our aid once again.
Yes, starting with the Sir Walkman, $1,315. Thank you.
Wow.
Good amount.
Holy crap. Is there a reason for this number? Does he explain?
No, he didn't say.
Oh, okay.
But he does say, John, your comments on a factory pool bet is true.
And
then he
right.
Makes it quite clear. He uses true. A long time ago, before becoming a dude named Ben, knocked up my future wife, dropped out of college, and found employment at a small steel factory, non-union. The Italians ran it. The Jews owned it. Anyways, weekly, we'd bet on who would lose fingers or have a piece of steel ran through them. I lost a finger, reattached, had my eyeball trembled due to a steel shard, amongst other injuries. Yes, the steel mill.
Wow.
You see, there's a lot more protection. In the union shop, you see less of these accidents.
What was the story again? What was the story about the pools? Because it was a clip you had. It was some story you had that people
It was the supervisor, the foremen, the guys working at this meatpacking factory were betting on how many guys would get tested positive for COVID.
Oh, and that was seen as something incredibly rude and wrong. And not done.
It's so bad. Meanwhile, this is the real deal he's talking about.
Yeah.
How many guys are going to lose an arm? He says, our foreman was named, get this, Tony Baroni.
Tony Baroni. He's got the pool.
Hey, Tony Baroni. Tony Baroni. I'm the foreman.
What's the spread, Tony?
Tony was a very imposing figure and often demonstrated this by tearing a phone book in half by hand the hard way. Anyway, thanks again for everything you guys do and the producers do. No jingles, no karma. Oh, and this donation should push me to Duke.
Beautiful. What is
probably a practical donation?
There's one thing I don't understand. His eye was dremeled?
Dremeled. Dremeled. You know what a Dremel is?
No, I do not know what a Dremel is.
Oh, a Dremel is this frightening little tool that most people have one. That's a frightening little tool that is like a drill, only it goes at like 10,000 RPM.
Oh.
And there's these little bits, and they're used to drill, like they're not used to drill, they're used to grind, and it's like a grinder, only it's like super high speeds. The thing is frightening when you get a hold of one of these things.
And how do you get it in your eye?
Well, he just was referring to the mechanism of something dremeling into his eye. It was just a phrase.
Oh, no. He said, I had my eyeball dremeled due to steel shards. Ugh.
Yeah, some steel shards apparently blew into some situation where a shard went right into his eyeball.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'd never heard the dremeled expression. Okay.
Oh, you got to get a Dremel.
No, I don't think so. Sounds like something I don't need in my life. Thank you very much, Sir Walkman. And yes, you will be Duke, and your title is forthcoming. And thank you for your courage.
Janet Kostrevsky, I think. And she is in New Albany, Ohio, 33333. Greetings from Thessaloniki.
Thessaloniki, Greece.
Big shout out to all my cousins in Columbus, Ohio on this Turkey Day. She's in Greece. Love, 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 love your show, John and Adam. Oh. Happy Thanksgiving, Janet.
Thank you, Janet. Very nice.
So we're taking up the whole family. I'm trying to promote this. We're taking up the usage of two terms, hi and bye, to be used frequently. So
wait a minute. You're doing this as a family?
I think the family should all we all saying bye when we and this is a tribute to YouTubers everywhere.
Well, that's wrong. It should be when you come in, you say, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Or hello, friends.
I haven't seen too many hello, friends, but I can see that. Cirrhosis is next on the list from Atlanta, Georgia, 333.33. Thanks, guys. You're the wind beneath my wings.
And we feel that.
Cirrhosis.
Here, I'll read this one. This is a long one. I'll take this one. This is Tony Mybaum in Yankton, South Dakota, 333.33. In the morning, John and Adam. I'm proudly donating my monthly South Dakota public servant salary to the show and would also like to offer some education about our state's COVID-19 numbers. Very good. I am a city commissioner in Yankton, South Dakota, where we voted this past Monday evening to not mandate that our citizens mask up. Hey. So there's hope in South Dakota. We're focusing on educating citizens instead. South Dakota's COVID-19 reporting data gets an A+ from the Atlantic's COVID tracking project and one of the only 8 states that include positive antigen testing in its totals. Yes, I told you, this is how the vaccine becomes successful. Antigen testing for SARS-CoV-2 can be useful when folks are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19. However, since October, South Dakota has been participating in a massive statewide validation study of antigen testing in both long-term care and correction prison facilities across an asymptomatic population. A single antigen test on an asymptomatic individual can only be described as being for entertainment purposes only, given its serious and well-documented issues over false positives. Confirmed by the FDA on November 3rd and detailed in depth at ProPublica.com on November 16th. Okay, I've corresponded with the director of our state's lab, and he and South Dakota Department of Health are aware of the issue and false positives and encourage facilities utilizing antigen testing to do a follow-up PCR test if they are suspicious of the first results. Long story short, positive antigen testing is included in our state's numbers because that's what CDC wants our state to do. Well, now I'm completely confused. I thought antigen gave better results and it lowered it by 95% the false positives in the nursing home. This needs to be explained. Now, then he talks about a clip he sent, and he says, don't you just love... What does he want here? All the best, gentlemen. Any love and light via the socials that listeners would care to send to the city of Yankton would be appreciated. I would also appreciate a hetero-flexible man and goat karma jingle, both of which I have lined up for you. 'Cause I'm a hetero-flexible man. Somebody give me an apple.
You've got karma.
Onward, we're Sir Kevin McLaughlin, the Duke of Luna in Locust, North Carolina, 333.33. And he has some jingle requests that you can line up. Jobs karma, goat karma, health, goat health. For these goats that are unhealthy. Happy Thanksgiving to my fellow Americans. For our servicemen and women, I would like to say thank you for your courage. If we humble ourselves, there's always something to be thankful for. Now, this is the Thanksgiving Day special. So, John, who is Squanto? No matter what the news media and the big tech propaganda, remember our great nation is still the guiding light, the inspiration for other nations. Adam, John requests jobs, karma, and general health for the entire No Agenda tribe. Laus Deo. From the Duke of Luna, lover of America.
Okay.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
There you go.
Stereo goat.
Yeah.
Sir Matthew Januszewski in Chicago, 333.33, no note from him. Also, Kevin Battinger in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 333.33. Want to thank him. No note from him. And I looked. Zach in Los Angeles, California, 333.33. Another one. From Zach. John and Adam, first and foremost, please de-douche me. This is my first donation.
You've been de-douched.
Today, I donate my promised portion of the coronavirus stimulus check. I finally received it in early November after much back and forth with the IRS, as it never came back in March. But now I can finally deliver on my self-made promise of giving a portion to the show. Thank you both for all the amazing producers for keeping me sane over the past year of M5M insanity and for expanding my mind since around 1150. Yes, the mind expansion moment began in 1150. My social circles lean very left, and your analysis of COVID and the election cycle has kept my amygdala small and my mind sane. Though I don't always agree with you two.
You're not supposed
to. You're just demoted. I learned on the show that it's not the point, and that ultimately the insight I gain from your perspectives and breakdowns is beyond valuable in these times, and I'm sure this show will be needed in the months and years to come. For jingles, please play a random L. Sharpton or two, if you please. And also the young Dutch child saying the correct pronunciation of Greta Thunberg. And, of course, karma for everyone. Cheers, Zach from L.A.
Yeah, this is actually producer Aaron's daughter. She's Swedish. And I think we have two clips. Let's see.
Her name is Greta Thunberg.
And what's this one?
Her name is Greta Thunberg.
You got it? You get it? Good.
ESPICT.
You've got karma.
So somebody sent, this will be in the next newsletter. Somebody sent a photo of I guess it was a construction zone sign.
Yeah.
And it said, I don't have the exact wording, but it said, mask up, show respect.
Ah, yes, I saw that.
Wrong.
I saw that. It's too delicious to believe. That actually, now that's either a no agenda producer, a dude named Ben on the box, or just an idiot like Al Sharpton. It could be
an idiot, way. But I get the sense that it's some dude named Ben on the box.
I sure hope so.
Central Carolina Casey's next on the list with $333. I'm sitting here in my deer stand, DEER, and hearing the deer hunting karma, realizing that the reason I've been a monster I've seen a monster buck twice this year and not had a good shot at him because I am a douchebag. Been listening since the mid-800s when I was hit in the mouth by a coworker. Hunting karma to all and a de-douching for me.
Yes.
You've been de-douched.
Dealer's choice on any jingle. Sincerely, Central Carolina Casey.
You have looked at the hard drive. Do you have a dealer's choice jingle? I don't like dealer's choice. I got stuff to do here. Do you have a dealer's choice jingle since you've seen them and you found things that we haven't heard in a long time?
Well, I would, if I had a memory for it, I would give you a couple. And there's tons that we could repeat. But I'm just going to go back to my old standby, which is Share a Secret.
No, we just did that one the other day. No.
You asked, and that's what I delivered.
Yeah, I don't like you delivered.
If I had the hard drive on this machine live, I just picked one out. I can't do it.
I'll do one. And we want a karma as well? Well, we're going to give him a karma.
Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
You've got karma.
All right, here we go. Why don't you read out our
Fugazotto? Yes, Dave Fugazotto, who is the Duke of America's heartland and the Arabian Peninsula. And he has been locked down in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for about 17 years, we believe. And he has written us on toilet paper every single show. Life is still uncertain here in the kingdom, as we now have only 37 days left of our 60 days notice. Yes, he's there for a job that is stopped, and he's supposed to stay and can't go, can't leave, can't travel. It's a mess. But we are continually assured that everything is good. Nothing to worry about. Disregard the turmoil. This is totally normal. It's feeling a bit like that meme with a little dog wearing a hat sitting at a table as his house burns down around him, saying, this is fine. That said, I have to say thanks for the TPP karma bestowed with the last donation. Out of the blue, Dame Melody received a call from a friend who recruited her to apply for a job. She sent off a resume one morning last week, had an interview that afternoon, and a hard offer by the next day with a salary that replaces my own. And this means whenever this Arabian adventure ends, be it January or June, I can finally achieve my lifelong goal of being a kept man. TPP karma paid off bigly. Could not be more. Hey, marrying for money, man, it's the best. Finally, John, thanks for introducing us to the talking dog. Having a verbal mongrel of our own, the late, great Charles Bartholomew Fugazotto III, Jr., it gives me a hearty chuckle whenever I hear it. Please dole out a terrible terrier karma for all Min Fadlak? What does that mean? Min Fadlak? And as always, thank you for your indomitable courage. Do you know what he's saying here? John?
Well, Min Fadlak. Fadlak. It's probably some Arabic set phrase. I don't know.
Okay. Well, then I will give him his karma.
You've got karma.
I don't know what that's going to do, Dave, but let us know if that helps. That's some crazy karma you want.
Now we go on with Kyle Stefano, $238, and he had an email. Sent his email in. Let's see if we got any jingles. You got a copy of this. Since Adam started yesterday's show talking about Austin City. Oh, no. Okay. Sorry. This is from October 7th. I could not find a current note for Kyle, but there was an old note in there that we never read. So you don't have this.
We're just going to read Kyle's old note?
Yes, because it was never read the first time.
Okay. All right.
Since Adam started yesterday's show talking about Austin city limits, October 7th.
Holy crap. By the way, I don't have this note.
That's okay. It's got nothing in here you need to know.
Okay.
I wanted to bring your attention back to the San Francisco music scene and share a clip from Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Music Festival, which also took place this past weekend. My husband, one of the last sets of the day, was playing wearing his No Agenda T-shirt for a pretty big crowd.
Wow.
The show is also live streamed and is now archived, so hopefully he mentally hit a lot of viewers and concert goers in the mouth. I think this is girl Kyle, or Kylie, as it's Kyle, Stefano, and they live in Sacramento, and she just says boy Jackie as her musician husband, boyfriend. And that's got to be Jackie Green, because he's the only musician that I know that lives in Sacramento. Is a big supporter of the show.
Really?
So,
I didn't know
and
that.
he plays a lot of stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, you can look him up. He's famous. He's famous. Anyway, so he wears the No Agenda T-shirt. I thought that was cool, and that's love
very
and
cool.
thanks from both of us.
Yes,
But
and
nothing. No.
well, I'm throwing a goat karma for this story. It's well worth it.
You've got karma.
Anonymous Australian 20932. Now, this is another issue. This is a note that you were sent a copy of.
Yeah.
It's actually the note from Lucas, who is the anonymous Australian, I think.
And we're going to keep Lucas
War
anonymous.
And the only way I can describe this note is that if anyone is a typographer, they know the type font Tecton. And Tecton's like used by architects. And so if you imagine Tecton, grunge, which is a style of font, that's what this guy writes in naturally. It's readable, but it's painful to read it.
Yeah, it's slanted backwards, which I've always found interesting. People who write slanted
it could be
to the
lefties
left.
slant backwards mostly.
Not all, but yeah, it could be a lefty.
If you're finally reading this card, then consider yourselves lucky. What I had to go through to get this bank. Oh, yes. What he did was he's in Australia. This is in dollar dues, which should probably be bumped. Oh, maybe not. It's not enough, I don't think. But he's executive producer. He had the check came in American dollars. And apparently to do that in Australia is because all this note is just him complaining about this process. And so he wants to get the bank details so he can do it some other way.
This is why Bitcoin is winning. This kind of stuff. This is insane. You can't. I know.
I'm sorry for this handwriting, John. It's my arthritis. Okay. Well, it was never that great anyway. At least said anyway. Congratulations on your 13th show, 13th anniversary. You make a great couple. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah. No jingles, no karma. All the best, and may you never find an exit strategy. And that's the gist of the note.
And ain't that the truth? Thank you, Lucas. Interesting handwriting, but yeah.
Sir Brian Tobiason in Gardner, Kansas, 20802. Happy Thanksgiving, gents. Need some emergency health karma for my mother-in-law. She's been battling liver cancer and now appears she has pneumonia.
Ugh.
She'll make the decision late tonight or tomorrow whether to intubate. She has no symptoms of COVID-19 except difficulty breathing, but they're holding treatment beyond oxygen and antibiotics while they wait for the test results. Because our country is a red zone.
County
is a red zone with an explosion of cases. Results can be delayed up to 4 days. There are no visitors allowed, and it's put a real damper on the Thanksgiving festivities around here. The NAF Cancer Karma that has been working with her tumor shrinking So let's blast it at the pneumonia and keep her around a bit longer. Thanks for all you do, helping me and my wife not freak out over the possible Rona issues like my sister-in-law apparently does. The value you provide is worth more than I can repay. Sir Brian. Okay.
All right.
So an F cancer, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you want... Well, we'll just throw in extra.
You've got karma.
The anti-pneumonia goat. Let us know how it goes, Sir Brian.
Leandro Brady in Bolinas, California. 20333 as you get down here. In the morning, gents, I'm going to my first meetup in Boulder Creek, California on Saturday. So I figured I should try to smell better for my fellow slaves with a de-douching beforehand.
You've been de-douched.
And I'm going with my friend Heather, who we should call out as a douchebag. Just to make her meetup awkward. But to be fair, she's also a total MILF. So I'll throw her a bone. Brother. Thanks for helping me recover from my TDS over the years. I feel much better now. If you can spare some jingles, I'd go for a Boom Shakalaka, the rhythmic one if you can find it, LGY, and a garnish of goat with my karma. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, you bet. And I'll add in a MILF.
MILF? That's one mother I'd like to Bingo, boom, boom, chakalaka, boom, 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 chakalaka, boom, boom.
You've got karma.
Deborah and Tim from Pittsboro, North Carolina, a stronghold of no agenda thinking. 201. Jingle request, John OTG. Going OTG kind of guy. In the morning, John and Adam, over the pizza and beer at my North Carolina Freedom Cell group, I was trying to hit them in the mouth as usual, and one of them exposed himself as a fellow no agenda listener. This delightful discovery gave us an idea. There are so many no agenda listeners in North Carolina, some might be hardcore enough to join us in prepping to go to a full OTG if that's what it takes to stay mask and vaccine free. So we teamed up to make this event 201 donation and invitation to check out freedomcells.org, freedomcells.org, all one word. And the Triangle, North Carolina Freedom Cell if you're in our hood. Thank you for the courage. Thank you for your courage, Deborah and Tim.
So are these, I'm looking at it right now. Huh. So do they use ham radio by any chance? It seems like that's the, Freedom Cells. Oh, speaking of which, please tell me you applied for your renewal.
I'm still working on it.
Dude,
it's a 2-year leeway. The worst thing in the world for a guy like me.
Are you sure? I think they changed those rules.
It's the one on the website.
Oh, they say that you have a 2-year grace period after you let it lapse after 10?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, that's not the one. Which one was it? Was it this one?
OTG kind of guy.
That's the one. Woo! I'm an OTG kind of guy.
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy.
Yeah. OTG kind of guy.
Yes.
Ooh, nice ending.
Madison Todd in St. Charles, Missouri, $233. $200.33. Just another quick note to everyone to thank and Gitmo Nation for their notes and comments on orders at eables.com. E-A-B-L-E-S.
Eables.
E-A-B-L-E-S. So many of them contain an ITM or note thanking me for my courage, so I knew it was time to pass it on again. As always, the discount for the site is New Agenda for 33% off. I noticed recently that every time I get more than a single request or single episode behind on your pod. So I'm stopping here. So I'm listening to one of the a lot of podcasts are advertising on the right-wing talk shows.
Okay.
Including left-wing podcasts. They advertise too. So you have to go to check it out. So I heard an advertisement for one. I just thought, this has got to be the worst. And the name of the show, and I went to it. And I tried to get some clips thinking this is going to be the worst podcast ever. So if it is the worst podcast ever, there's no way you can clip it because it's just boring. And the name of the podcast is Pod is a Woman.
Ugh.
Yeah. My exact response.
That's taking...
Pod is a woman. So I went over there, and what it is, Pod is a woman. You can look it up. You won't listen to it. It's 3 women that worked in the Obama administration at kind of secretarial levels.
Mm-hmm.
And all they're doing is shooting the shit about, what do you think they're going to hire for this guy? What do you think Biden's going to do? You think we can get into the administration? It's just, there's nothing to it.
Okay.
But this reminded me to mention and plug that fine podcast, Pod is a Woman.
Yes.
I noticed my day-to-day, he continues, frustration at the misinformation rat race. It's off the charts. The work you guys do for your audience is invaluable. I'll never stop listening and stop hitting people in the mouth. Jingles. Hard to get it aroused or whip them with the Constitution. And all hell's going to break loose soon. You're going to need a Bitcoin. Also, if you can get a special karma for every Gitmo Nation slave that's purchased from ebles.com. Thank you and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, and it's no longer funny. I'm sorry. I am the podfather, and I denounce this use of the term pod for anything. It's an episode. It's a show. It is not a pod. There's no such thing as a pod. That means piece of dreck. Pod is out. Stop saying it.
It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Get out there, whooping with the Constitution. They're saying that all hell is going to break loose, and you're going to need a Bitcoin.
You've got karma.
It's funny that you'd make this affirmation because the guy who invented the GIF.
Yes.
He made a firm affirmation that is pronounced GIF.
Mm-hmm.
But as I recall, you pronounce it GIF.
No, I say GIF specifically because of this story, which you've been telling me for almost 20 years. So I don't make that mistake. Thanks.
I don't think he's been saying that for 20 years. But
you have.
Maybe. Time flies.
We've had this discussion since episode 5, I think. And I think then I was like,
nothing
what?
else. I'm extremely consistent.
You're very consistent, John. Yes, in everything.
Onward. Stefan and Amy Joanides. Yeah, that could be it. $200.08, requesting a de-douching.
Mm-hmm. Now, did they not have a note? I don't
have a note.
You've been de-douched.
Oh, because it's gray, and then I'm thinking that would be on my newly scanned notes. No.
Well, maybe it's gray. It's whatever color it is. It could be. I don't know. I didn't get a note from him.
Yeah, well, here's Stefan. Here it is. This is a note.
It is there.
Is this not the one?
I have it then.
In the morning?
Yes, I got it.
I've been listening to your podcast since early September, so I'm a relative newbie. And yes, I too found my way to you via JRE. I like what Adam had to say. I remembered him from his glory days on MTV, and I lived in the Netherlands for a year in college. So yeah, there were enough commonalities for me to give you guys a try. I've been hooked since my first download. You guys are great. Now, I hear donors saying your show is better than JRE, and I hear you say there's no reason to cut down other fine podcasts. The way I see it, they're just not comparable. JRE is as good as the guest and the topic are, and I can confidently say, even with my limited exposure to No Agenda, your show is always dynamite. So there's the difference. Not better necessarily, but definitely more consistent. John, there it is, your consistency once again. Oh, and then he says something that contradicts our night from earlier. I came to your show seeking unbiased information. I came to your show because I've heard and suspected for years that the mainstream media is corrupt and the corporate and feeding me lies. I came to your show because I've always been suspicious of leaders. I came to your show because I was, and still am, very unhappy with the current COVID situation. I also arrived to your show because I don't have the time to shuffle through multiple websites, scan the newspapers, watch multiple news shows. Informing oneself, unfortunately, is a full-time job, and I already have 2 of those. I'm a parent of 2 little ones, and I'm a teacher. Basically, I don't read newspapers or watch the news because, I've already read enough subpar writing to have read my students' work and state-mandated curriculum. So when I want to educate myself for the past 10-plus years, I turn to audiobooks and podcasts. They're my education on the go, as I'm an avid runner. There have been positives to this quarantine work-from-home situation. Finding the No Agenda podcast is definitely near the top of that list. Thank you for helping us all deconstruct the mainstream media. Thank you for keeping me sane as I'm an independently minded person drowning in a sea of liberals. I live in Santa Cruz, California. A beautiful place to live, but damn if the majority of the people aren't wonky, batshit crazy. That's all it from me from now. From Stefan, pronounced Stefan, from Santa Schmooze. Oh, and he says he'll be 40 on December 1st. He wants to be on the birthday list. I'll check while you read the next one.
Yes, and did we give him his de-douching?
I'll do it again just in case.
You've been de-douched.
Yeah, Stefan's on the birthday list, so good to go there.
Jeff W., Louisville, Kentucky, $200.01. Hello, shout out to JCD. Saw you live with Leo and friends once at the old Twitch studio in Petaluma. I enjoyed it. Well, it seems that the pandemic has reached new platitudes of stupidity. Well, let me pronounce that better. Stupidity. Well, browsing at my local half-price books recently, I noticed there was arrows and stickers taped all over the floor, pointing every which way. It seemed to make no sense, and I could not help but think to myself in the spirit of the No Agenda calling card, this is bull crap. I lament that we are being herded around like sheeple, but thanks to your content, I can see it for what it is. Bull crap, and not get too worked up about it. Same goes for corrupt news network, the CNN. Okay, the joke was there. I just screwed it up.
That's all right.
The same goes for the corrupt news network, CNN, and their mask-related propaganda and guilt tripping. I even got a good laugh about it now and again. Cheers! Requested jingle, Dr. Fauci, sinister laugh, the whole clip, and not just a laugh if possible, but that's not necessary. It's effing hilarious. Biden whole load today and 2 to the head. Thanks, Jeff W. from Louisville.
I just don't remember which one was the... Let me see. Maybe this is it. That's Fauci, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah, I think that's him. Maybe it's this one.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
You've got karma.
Well, that was actually Shapiro, but it's funnier.
Yeah.
By a lot. Samantha Hoffman, $200 from New Windsor, New York. And she did send an email in. I donated. Let's see if there's anything here that's surprising. No, I don't think so. I donated through your donation page, $200 on 11/23/2020, but missed the note section in PayPal. My transaction number, and then, okay, she gives details. We don't need that. I wanted to send the below note to be read and hope it's submitting. Okay, here's the below note. Please credit my husband, Brandon, pinball wizard of the Freak Show, with this donation. So we have an
Brandon,
a switcheroo.
Pinball wizard of the what?
Of the Freak Show.
Of the Freak Show. All right. No problem. He's credited.
It is his birthday on Thanksgiving.
Oh, my.
I guarantee he's not on the list.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to surprise him with a happy birthday shout out. He started listening to you after hearing Adam on the Joe Rogan show and quickly got hooked.
Nice.
If you have a special birthday clip or jingle to play, that would be great. Well, he's going to be listed on the list. That's the most important thing.
He's on the list. He's got it there.
There's a jingle involved.
And it was very kind of you to do this in this segment. So this is why he's
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season.
Sincerely,
Samantha. All right.
Very nice. We got it.
So he's good to go.
Yep.
onward with, looks like Bradley Horowitz. Oh, yes. Horowitz in Chicago, $200. And this will be our last associate executive producer. We had a big top-heavy list today.
Yeah.
Can I please get a Biden it's wrong versus Trump it's true 3 times back and forth, as well as a de-douching? He's a de-douching. That always comes first.
De-douched.
Without the de-douching, you don't get the jingles. That's the weird thing about it. The machine just won't work.
So a Biden it's wrong versus Trump it's true 3 times back and forth. This is, I mean, I'm tight, so I can do it in this market, but it's not really what we do. And you're asking me to create something
no more
new
of
on
this
the
sort
fly.
of thing.
No,
is what he's saying.
There's no more of this nuttiness. You know, I only have 7 players. Now you want to fill up 6
and
of them?
his machine is falling apart and may crash any minute.
Thank you.
Well, I could mention Adam's beautiful. Let's start this over. Well, I can mention Adam's beautiful hair, like everyone else does. I grew up with PC Magazine, always lying around the house. No MTV for me. John's grinning face is permanently burned in my brain as I flip through issues regularly. Shout out to my smoking hot girlfriend, Michelle, who punched me in the mouth around March.
Oh.
Please call out Eric as a douchebag. Who turned her onto the show? Who turned her onto the show? Okay. Thank you both for providing the best podcast in the universe and letting us all know that there are still other people out there who can think for themselves.
Yeah. Damn it. Let's try it.
It's wrong.
Bradley.
It's true. It's wrong. It's true. It's wrong. It's true.
Not bad. That's actually not too bad. That should be a thing.
That should be a thing. He's really definitely got that. That was in his brain. He came up with that.
I take it all back. I really enjoyed that you came up with that, Bradley. Good one.
I want to thank these executive and associate executive producers for producing show 1298. We're 2 away from show 1300.
Holy crap-a-moly, 1,300 shows. And we never had a fight. It's unbelievable. Yes, thank you to these executive producers and associate executive producers. These are the titles that are real. Go check it out. Go look on IMDb. See if you can find any. They're there. Actual producers of movies and other entertainment properties. This is no less. So if anyone has a problem with that, you can send them over to IMDb and look at all of the proud producers of Gitmo Nation who produce the No Agenda Show. There's only one way we can do it. It's with your time, your talent, your treasure, and we appreciate you showing up here on Thanksgiving Day to be with us live. If you're listening to it on Friday, hope you had a good Turkey Day. Thank you for supporting us. And again, display those titles as proudly as you can. If you'd like a title of your own, well, why don't you drop by Sunday and go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Time, talent, treasure. It is the combo of our value for value model. Thank you very much.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order. Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
My goodness, man, the mink in Denmark that they culled because they had COVID, or that's at least what they were saying. They're rising from the dead.
As coats?
This story is crazy. And I'm not quite sure why it's coming back other than there's something up and they're coming for your pets. So the mink infected with the mutated strain of COVID-19 in Denmark appear to be rising from the dead, igniting a national frenzy and calls from local officials to cremate the mink carcasses. So what happened apparently is they just dug a very shallow grave and threw 15 million mink into it. So if you just covered up with a little bit of dust or whatever, the mink are decomposing and they're filled with gases and they're basically popping open up to the surface. It's disgusting. They didn't do it right. And people
sounds like, it seems to me if they really did it right, they would have just sold all the mink to Russia and they would have made a lot of coats.
Yeah, well, it's the Chinese, I think, who like the mink. I think the Chinese
Russians like mink.
Right, but I think Denmark's big export is
we should export them to China.
Yeah. Who knows?
15 million mink is a lot of mink coats.
Yeah.
I have a clip that I wanted to play, which is the one that should have followed the other clip where I did the big lead in about what's different about this clip.
Yes.
This is the clip on Flynn. Flynn got pardoned.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, and that was a big shock to the mainstream media.
It was kind of fun.
And you know who else is going to get pardoned? Manafort.
Oh, yeah, well, he really needs to get pardoned if he hasn't rotted away yet in jail.
Yeah, he's going to get pardoned, but he'll be pardoned at the very end after Trump's actually sure he's not going to get back in.
Right.
But this is Flynn pardoned. This is a dubious report from ABC.
For that, I want to get news now from the White House. President Trump pardoning Michael Flynn, his first national security advisor who pled guilty twice to lying to the FBI. Let's bring in ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas. And Pierre, this pardon effectively brings to an end the longest, most drawn-out legal saga of the Trump administration.
That's right, Tom. Pardoned in a tweet, the president calling it his great honor. Michael Flynn lasted just 22 days on the job before he was fired for lying to Vice President Pence about a phone call with the Russian ambassador. He later pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about that call. Flynn was the only White House official convicted in a case by special counsel Bob Mueller. For years, President Trump called it unfair, and his attorney general has been trying to have the charges dropped. But with that effort stalled, the president stepped in and pardoned him. We now are being told by sources that Trump is expected to issue more pardons in the coming days before he leaves office, Tom.
All right, Pierre Thomas with that breaking news and new reporting just in tonight. Pierre, thank you.
I have
breaking news, new reporting.
The Brian Williams version of this announcement was perhaps a little bit more entertaining, as I think he read the tweet, not the entire letter, but the tweet.
He cooperated with Mueller's investigation as expected. Trump did pardon him today, posting this quote, "It is my inexplicably capitalized great honor to announce that General Michael T. Flynn has been granted a full pardon."
Did you hear what he said?
Inexplicably, it sounds like Trump wrote that.
Right, but that's not what it is. It's like he's editorializing on the fly.
Caps.
What is wrong with these people? They can't just read a tweet like it's news on a news show?
Well, it'd be funnier if he shouted it because that's what it indicates.
Yeah, true. That would have been pretty funny.
Yeah, but he won't do that. Now, the thing about this ABC report is that he says Michael Flynn pled guilty twice.
It's totally untrue.
For lying to the FBI. So he pled guilty and then he pled guilty again? Is that what he's mean?
It's irrelevant. This is, the reason for this pardon at the timing of it, besides that he had just pardoned a turkey, so hey man, might as well pardon that guy. Now he can join the team. Now he can join the Kraken crew. Sidney Powell, also known as El Cid, the Kraken keeper, is the one who has been defending him and has really fought these crazy judges in, is that D.C., I guess? Where is it? I guess it's D.C. where that's taking place. So now he can join the Kraken keeper because she, and this was probably, to me, more interesting of the announcements, she is not on the president's legal team. And this was spelled out in a very clear note that didn't say she was tossed out or fired or gotten rid of. They said, no, this is the team. It's Giuliani, it's Jen Ellis, and it's I don't think Joe DeGeno is really on that team. I think he just shows up for the photo and just stands in the back. But Sidney Powell, definitely not a part of the team. Well, that's because she can't be a part of the team. This is the final act, which I will try to unfold for you. The final act of the Donald J. Trump movie that we've been in for the past 4 years. He's got a fourth act. It's forthcoming. And it will be surrounded around the Kraken and Sydney. And apparently, she is independent of the president's legal team because she is a military lawyer. I have no idea what that means. And that there will be treason trials for people when she's done, whether that's before inauguration or not, or before December 14th is unclear. But the media, M5M, took this note And by the way, before anyone else said anything, I was receiving notices saying, "Oh, just so you know, they were clearly managing my expectations." And when I say they, it's military intelligence. I'm probably getting secondhand information. Right away, it was like, "Oh, just so you know, she's not been kicked off the team. This is so that she can do her military tribunal." Okay. But here's how the mainstream picked it up.
The president's lawyers are also under fire for that embarrassing press conference last week, where attorney Sidney Powell floated a bizarre conspiracy theory she said was hatched by Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, who has been dead for 7 years.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela.
It was all too much even for Rudy Giuliani, who put out a statement saying, quote, she is not a member of the Trump legal team. But that's her right next to him at the press conference.
I'm in charge of this investigation with Sidney and the people that you see here.
Trump ally Chris Christie said it's time for the president to pack it in.
The conduct of the president's legal team has been a national embarrassment.
Now let's see what Jim Acosta had to say about the Sidney memo.
No, that was John Carl.
I'm sorry?
The first guy.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jim Acosta. He's next.
No, I'm just saying the first guy, that one you play, was John Carl.
Okay.
He's the head of the correspondence, the press corps. He's ABC, and he's a Trump hater to an extreme. And the fact that he dreamed up that she's accrediting the Venezuelan dictator that's dead, she never did that. Well, that's a lie.
No, she didn't say that at all. She said that
it's not Maduro. The guy before was, I can't remember his name anymore. Chavez.
Yeah.
He said specifically that she said it's a plot dreamed up by Chavez, who's been dead.
Yeah, but that's bull crap. Of course,
she's never said that.
No, of course not. Of course,
she said these machines were connected to the elections in Venezuela. We'd all know that. But that was John Carl. He's probably worse than Acosta. Just to let you know.
Well, then before we go to Jim Acosta, let's go back to 2004 when Lou Dobbs was still on CNN. So this is 14 years ago. CNN. Let's listen about this Venezuela stuff. Is there something really related? I don't know.
A firm owned by Venezuela could be allowed to take over one of this country's top voting machine firms. Venezuela, of course, led by Hugo Chavez, working to change the views of most South American countries, moved to the left. Critics of the deal say our nation's very democracy is now for sale, without anyone doing a thing about it. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
The use of some 19,000 electronic voting machines in the city of Chicago and Cook County primary on March 21st of this year is now under intense scrutiny. The U.S. company that makes the machines, Sequoia, was bought in 2005 by Smartmatic, a private company primarily owned by Venezuelan businessmen. When Chicago had problems with the machines, a dozen Venezuelan employees were there to help with the election. Chicago officials are outraged.
I think that American elections ought to be run by American companies and ought to be run by American citizens, not Venezuelan nationals.
Smartmatic is technically based in Boca Raton, Florida, but the president of the company, Jack Blaine, testified to the Chicago City Council. Fewer than a dozen Smartmatic employees work in Florida. The majority of the workers are based in Venezuela. Watchdog groups question why U.S. voting machines would be under the control of citizens of another country, especially a country whose own election process is highly suspect.
We believe this is a national security issue. There is no way that companies belonging to non-U.S. corporations should have access to our elections.
The Treasury Department is supposed to monitor sales of U.S. companies to overseas investors where there is a question of national security, such as in the Dubai ports deal, the so-called CFIUS review process. Some in Congress are demanding an investigation.
In the case of Smartmatic, there are a number of unanswered questions. That's why I wrote to the Secretary of the Treasury and asked them to review the ownership. It's offshore, it's murky, no one seems to know who owns it. Certainly our government should know.
A potential risk to the democratic process.
So that is a report from 2006. So when John Carl says that it's that some bull crap about Hugo Chavez, who's been dead for 7 years, he clearly didn't actually listen to what Sidney Powell said. But that's okay, because that is the message. That is what the great M5 is going to give us, and what they're going to continue to give to us, like Jimmy Fallon.
That's right. Sidney Powell is out after she said the election was stolen by Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez.
See, lie, but you know he's got to toe the line. Our Jimmy, have another drink, Jimmy.
Who died 7 years ago. Yet her conspiracy theories were too much, even for Trump. Well, today she wrote a farewell email. It said, "My fellow Trump lawyers, well, it finally happened. The Illuminati got me fired. Luckily, you'll still find the culprits who hacked the election, Hugo Chavez, Charles Barkley, and Flo, the progressive insurance lady. They're in a bunker 9 miles below the Times Square Bubblegum Shrimp. The password to enter is Elvis is alive, and he lives at Area 51. Hail Zoltar, Sydney."
So, you know, that's how it's done. That's how you marginalize
and by the way,
people. Mm-hmm.
John Carl's NBC, Jimmy Fallon's NBC. And NBC is one of the worst.
No, John Carl is ABC. He's AB. I'm sure he's ABC.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you right?
Yeah. Am I right? Of course. If not, Rule 1 goes into effect. Adam's always right. Of course.
I always thought John Carl was it.
Well, yeah. Jim Acosta is definitely CNN. Lou Dobbs' former network. He could have easily gone into the CNN archives. Seems like a podcast was able to do it with help of producers.
Another sign that this is over, the president is not only souring on people like Sidney Powell, his longtime personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. I talked to a Trump advisor about this and asked, is the president essentially getting tired of Rudy Giuliani? And this advisor said, we all are. And so at this point, even inside the president's legal team, they view this election as over. They view these challenges as over. And one advisor I spoke with earlier this evening said the president tweeting about fighting on is essentially a fundraising play.
Oh, it's a fundraising play. I also heard a lot of people, people familiar with the president's thinking. There's a lot of that going on again. That Sidney Powell was too crazy even for Trump. That was basically the headline. You know, this
is unbelievable propaganda. By the way, Carl is ABC, but you know where he worked before there?
Let me guess. NBC?
CNN.
Huh. So he could have looked in the archives. He was probably there when that story took place. Anyway, you heard Jimmy Fallon read Sidney Powell's note. Let's read what she actually wrote. No, better. Let's have the same Lou Dobbs read it.
Nobody has been more outspoken about the issues raised by Dominion voting systems than attorney Sidney Powell. Powell says she has evidence of Dominion's connections to foreign countries, claims that Dominion's algorithms weighted Joe Biden's votes more than President Trump's. We do not know the truth of the matter, but that is her claim. And yesterday, the president's legal team stated that Powell was not a member of the Trump legal team. Despite appearing with him at a press briefing last week, despite the president recognizing her as such, Powell agreed with the Trump legal team, though, and released a statement clarifying what she has been trying to do all along. Powell said this, quote, "I agree with the campaign statement that I am not part of the campaign's legal team. I never signed a retainer agreement or sent the president or the campaign a bill for my expenses or fees. My intent has always been to expose all the fraud I could find and let the chips fall where they may, whether it be upon Republicans or Democrats. The evidence I'm compiling is overwhelming that this software tool was used to shift millions of votes from President Trump and other Republican candidates to Biden and other Democrat candidates. We are proceeding to prepare our lawsuit and plan to file it this week. It will be epic."
Release the Kraken. All right, let's
we'll see.
Well, hold on. I'm going to give you what is out there. We know you're skeptical. That's fine. But I do want to present what is going on that the M5M is marginalizing. Usually there's a reason for that. If Sidney Powell was really unimportant, would they spend that much time on calling her a nut job? Unlikely. Let's listen to the Dominion voting system spokeshole about the impenetrability of their systems.
Biden to Trump or from Trump to Biden.
No, this is a nonpartisan American company. It is not physically possible for our machines to switch votes from one candidate to the other. Let's be very clear. Our election system is run by local elected officials and nonpartisan poll watchers. We simply provide a tool to count the ballots and to print and count ballots. There is no way such a massive fraud could have taken place, and there are no connections between our company and Venezuela, Germany, Barcelona, Kathmandu, whatever the latest conspiracy theory is.
Okay, so there's no connection. The company wasn't bought from Venezuelan companies. Smartmatic didn't come from other companies. But okay, then we have Eric Coomer. Eric Coomer is the VP of product. He's the guy responsible for the machines, apparently. And he is the guy, we have no proof of this other than one or two people who say they heard him on a Zoom call that was an Antifa Zoom call. I find this very uncredible. Where Eric Coomer was saying, "Don't worry, he'll never win. I effing made sure of that." Implying that this Eric Coomer was responsible for rigging the votes and setting this algorithm off. We did have video of him on a demo showing how easy it is to change an actual ballot. This is a instruction video.
This is our digital adjudication system. If you have multiple ICCs, ImageCast Centrals running, they all write the data to a network drop location, and you can have multiple adjudication stations for multiple teams to handle the outstacked ballots. This is a typical voter intent issue where they didn't fill out the ovals completely. They just made little tick marks. It's what's called an ambiguous mark. And what we're saying is we're not sure what the voter intent is, but we're going to allow the adjudicators to make that call based on any kind of state statutes. So right on the screen, I can go ahead and say, you know what? The voter meant to mark these. They wanted those votes to count for those candidates. I can do the back page. I'm not going to fill all of them in here. And then I hit complete. It's going to go on to the next ballot. And this is another classic one where the voters circled the names instead of filling in the ovals.
So literally, these machines allow you to change the vote. The actual scanned image, you can go in with a little editing tool and fill out the circle a little better if someone didn't do a good job. I don't know, man. That sounds kind of weird. But if you look at the Dominion user manual, page 32, election results, including the scanned ballot images and log files, are stored on the compact flash memory cards and can be stored on local file systems or on the network file system. Each file type, result files, ballot image, and log files, may be imported together or separately. And here comes my favorite line. This allows for the flexible management of results after the election occurs. Huh? Who puts that in their manual?
That could come in handy.
Yeah, it could come in handy because most of these machines are connected to the internet.
We've heard it at congressional hearings for years.
Our voting machines are not connected to the internet.
Those are not connected. Voting machines themselves are not connected to the internet.
And we knew that wasn't true.
And cybersecurity expert Kevin Skoglund wanted to prove it. So he and 9 other independent security consultants created their own search engine looking for election systems online.
We found over 35 had been left online, and we're still continuing to find more.
Voting machines themselves are not designed to be online. So how are some voting systems getting online? We got a first-hand look when we visited ES&S, the largest manufacturer of voting machines, and talked to CEO Tom Burt.
Okay, why is there a Sprint thing here and a Verizon thing here?
There's a small percentage of jurisdictions in the country, a lot of them are in Florida, who have decided that they want to modem unofficial results to the election office.
ES&S insists while there are 14,000 of its modems in use, there are firewalls separating those modems from the public internet, and that the modems are turned on for just seconds.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong? 14,000 machines connected to the internet, but only for seconds, and we have a sophisticated firewall. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then the final piece of tinkering evidence in clip form is from Georgia. and this is from October, this is before the election, when apparently all of the Dominion voting systems needed some kind of upgrade without recertification.
Some Georgia residents and software experts are sounding an alarm over a software update underway now in the state's new voting machines. They'll be used next week in early voting, but the question is, will the update do more harm than good? 11 Alive's Doug Richards is checking it out for us tonight.
The biggest update occurred over the last week at Fulton County's voter warehouse in northwest Atlanta. Critics have filed suit to scuttle the voting machines because they say the update is more than Georgia's 159 counties can safely handle. The counties then have to test the voting machines afterward to make sure the new software didn't deliver any surprises to the rest of the programming. Software security researcher Hari Horsty says it puts the entire election at risk.
There is always possibility of unintended consequences. In Boeing 737, they tried to fix a small problem, and unbeknownst to them, they created another problem which then went off and killed hundreds of people.
Horsty was among those observing the software update in Fulton County over the last week. He says he saw sloppy security and mistakes by workers as they installed it.
So anyway, there's lots of circumstantial and also hard evidence and mathematical evidence that votes were indeed switched, huge blocks of votes going from Trump being deducted from Trump's totals and being added to Biden's totals. I agree with you. I don't think this will make any difference. I don't think they can file a lawsuit big enough that will change anything in this regard.
They're screwed. Here's a funny back and forth about this that was taking place in court, or actually in front of the Republican legislature in Pennsylvania with Giuliani.
This was the bull crap hearing they did. This was sad.
Bull crap hearing.
This was sad. I thought this was sad.
It was kind of sad.
Yeah. What is the clip? What am I looking for here?
Funny back and forth.
Yeah.
Normally, you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and uploading those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes. Is that right?
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
For Biden?
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
Incredulous laughing from the crowd there. I actually pulled one clip from this, which I thought was better because there were idiots there, man. Listen to this.
There are solutions that are available. I've made the simple comment that your vote should be at least as secure as your Venmo account.
At least as secure as your Venmo account, which runs through...
Apparently doesn't know anything about Venmo.
Which runs through Plaid Networks, which requires, a piece of a computer to go act as you and log into your bank account with your username and password. Yeah, okay, really good. But this does come down to what I think is the strategy and what has been explained to me as what is going to happen. First of all, we have to understand the Kraken. The Kraken is an existing system. It is do they have an actual name for this? Well, anyway, the Kraken provides needed intelligence and force protection. This has been deployed in the Middle East. It is a container that can contain, besides 6 troops, it is I'll read from the Army's own press release, a cutting-edge force protection system which combines radar, surveillance cameras, unmanned sensors, gunshot detection, remote-controlled weapons, cyber. It is connected to cyber, and they call it the Combat Outpost Surveillance and Force Protection System. And apparently this thing can pretty much surveil an area of 16 square kilometers, infrared. They can pinpoint a mouse. 6 kilometers, continuous sweep. And when she says release the Kraken, the implication there is that the cyber defenses were listening in on everybody, waiting in this period. I'm only repeating what I've been told. In this period where all these accusations are flying back and forth, they're probably listening to people and following people, and they've got all the goods on everybody. I hope, otherwise it's going to be pretty sad at the end. And this is going to be a military operation, and it's going to be connected to China. And apparently there's going to be huge, these big lawsuits that Sydney El Cid Kraken Keeper is promising will be for payoffs and corruption to both the governors of Georgia and California, and we're talking billions of dollars, to which they benefited personally. And the moves that Trump made are to prepare for some kind of horrible insurrection, which could be, get ready for it, could be led by communist China, Chinese forces inside the USA. And
brother.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it gets better. Therefore, no, not yet. Therefore, Ezra Cohen Watnick, who many say is Q, was promoted to the secretary or the director of special operations. So the special forces. We talked about that 2 shows ago. It was very demure, very quiet ceremony. But now special forces are being led by Ezra Cohen, who is a real insider. He's Flynn's guy, along with the Cash guy, Kash. These are very mysterious people. And apparently, Ezra, he even said it in his little statement, which I forgot to clip this morning with all of the drive problems. Apparently, in his statement, he enacted President Kennedy's presidential memorandum number 57. And this was probably what got Kennedy killed. His memorandum 57 removed special operations from the CIA. And that's exactly what happened here. And we talked about it, and I kind of intuitively said it, but it turns out that's what it did. By elevating special forces, special operations to be on par with the other divisions and report directly to the defense secretary, it takes away all of the CIA's use. And CIA has been running all of these covert wars. This is what the droning is. It's all been CIA special forces, very little actual military. So this is it's in the show notes. It's an actual presidential memorandum. It explains exactly that these two should be separated. It was never enacted. And the way Ezra Cohen Watnick phrased his words, as he said, we are now enacting the vision of President John F. Kennedy, it leads many to believe that this has now taken place, and we may have special operations as we get into the 4th and final act of the Trump movie, which you're about to go into. And as a part of that, the sending over of GSA transition funds, which was another moment touted by the M5M as, oh, it's all done for, it's over, he's letting them transition in. This is what I'm hearing. The reason for this is to trap the lobbyists and potential Chinese spies by using Section 6 of the Presidential Transition Enhancement Act, which prohibits a transition team member with conflicts of interest similar to those applicable to federal employees, and then there's a code there, related to current or former employment, affiliations, clients, or, I'll read that again, related to current or former employment, affiliations, clients, or investments from working on particular matters involving specific parties that affect the interest of such member, and address how the covered eligible candidate will address his or her own conflicts of interest during a presidential term if the covered eligible candidate becomes the president-elect. So this is going to be used most likely in the final throes of any court battle to show that there can be no transition, there can be no Biden administration because of their conflicts, should he become president-elect. And I personally think we're going to see some real fireworks before this is all over. It might not even be before December 14th, but Trump's not going anywhere. You can see it in everything he says. He's made it very clear. And this minimalization of El Cid, I think, points to something real happening. And we'll just have to wait to see what takes place.
I'm shaking my head, of course.
Of course. And then I'm not saying I believe this or I have the facts or the truth. There's a huge list in the show notes, which is the full voter fraud list with links, everything you want to know about all the different machines, the ballots that show up, the Skinny Joe who printed ballots. There's a lot. But I don't think I don't see how you can package that evidence into something unless you can hold up Biden and his cronies and say, look, here's how they did it with China or whatever. That's a tough nut to crack. But this is really being discussed in this manner.
So let's talk about Biden. So he had gave a Thanksgiving speech.
Yes.
High energy Thanksgiving speech, real rally.
I know I was floored by the energy.
But he did take care of at least this situation. I always explain how Thanksgiving came to be on this show every year, but I wasn't going to do it this year because I've done it every year. You can go back and listen to an old show.
Sounds like you're going to have to do it again.
No. Well, he does have a segment of the history of Thanksgiving, which he threw into his little talk. And I want to play that, and that gets me off the hook.
Thanksgiving is a special time in America. A time to reflect on what the year has brought, to think about what lies ahead. Our first National Day of Thanksgiving, authorized by the Continental Congress, took place on December 18th, 1777. It was celebrated by General George Washington and his troops at Gulf Mills on the way to Valley Forge. And it took place under extremely harsh conditions and deprivation, lacking food, clothing, and shelter. They were preparing to ride out a long, hard winter. And today, you can find a plaque in Gulf Mills marking that moment. Here's what the plaque reads. It says, "This Thanksgiving, in spite of the suffering, showed the reverence and character that was forging the soul of a nation."
That sounds correct, I
He's
guess.
Debbie Downer, let's face it.
He doesn't make it sound all happy, that's for sure.
He's not happy. He's not a happy guy. And he's a Debbie Downer. He's going to be this way throughout everything we're ever going to hear from him. He's just a downer. But then I was looking for gaffes. I watched this thing, and they started crapping out, getting tired, after the 10-minute mark as usual. By himself, then he drags his ass off the stage, barely making it. But here's this thing. He talks about the Palmists.
The
and
Palmists?
This clip is, I did some work on this clip so I could figure out what the hell is going on, and figured it out and got the whole thing right down to exactly where he's getting these quotes from. But he says, and I looked at the transcript at C-SPAN, and he clearly says palmists.
What are palmists?
Palmists are people that read your palm.
Really? I thought it was a fortune teller or gypsy.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
They're palmists.
Okay.
Now, if you look up the definition, there's no other definition for palmists. What he meant to say was psalmists.
He dropped an S.
It's spelled P-S-A-L, and he pronounced it palmist instead of psalmist.
Poor Joe.
But so he does this, and he gets this, and I guess at least you got a little insight here.
Does anyone knock on his shoulder and go, bro, Joe, bro? No,
everyone is bitching about this use of Palmist, but let's play this clip, and then I have to give a little insight that wasn't given by the media.
On this Thanksgiving, in anticipation of all the Thanksgivings to come, let's dream again. Let's commit ourselves to thinking not only of ourselves, but of others as well. For if we care for one another, if we open our arms rather than brandishing our fists, we can, with the help of God, heal. And if we do, and I'm sure we can proclaim the Palmist, with the Palmist who wrote these following words. The Lord is my strength and my shield. And with my song, I give thanks to him. I give thanks now for you, for the trust you've placed in me. Together, we'll lift our voices in the coming months and years, and our song shall be of lives saved, breaches repaired, a nation made whole again.
Which psalm is he reading from?
It's actually reading from Psalm.
No, it's a poem.
28:7.
Oh. Okay.
Now 28:7 is interesting. He did the exact read of it from one specific Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do any Bible studies nowadays, you go onto the internet and there's all these Bibles, and they have most of them except a few of the more recent copywritten Bibles they don't have online, but most of the Bibles are online. The New King James Version, the ones I have here, they got this psalm in about 7-8 Bibles.
Do you collect Bibles?
No, this is online. I said.
Oh no, I thought you as an archivist.
No, I'm not collecting Bibles. Why collect anything that's online? It's like newspapers. Why buy a newspaper?
You're an archivist.
Yes, I'm not collecting Bibles. Now the thing is to me is that he's actually using the English Standard Version Bible, as opposed to what other people use, like the New International or the New Living, which is one of the more popular ones. And the New Living is the corniest one, too. It doesn't make any sense when you read it. But the King James Version would be, the Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusted in him, past tense, and I am helped. Therefore my heart greatly rejoices, and with my heart I will praise him. That is one of the classic Bibles, the newest version of the King James. And this one, which is the English Standard, also used by the Catholics as the New Revised Standard Version of the Catholic edition. He says, the Lord is my strength and my shield, and in him my heart trusts, which is an active as opposed to passive and not past tense. I'm also helped, my heart exalts, and with my song I give thanks to him, which to me is a huge difference between thanks and praise. And I'm fascinated by this difference because giving thanks is one thing, but giving praise is another. And I'm not sure I'm sure there's people out there that can, because if you look at these different Bibles, and I only have like 7 of them here, half of them say praise and half of them say thanks, except the New Living, which says instead of praise or thanks, it ends with, I burst out in songs of thanksgiving. Which doesn't even connect to anything. I don't know where they even get I don't know what that group is different. So he's starting to pull these things. He's putting Bible quotes into his speeches out of the blue. And I'm wondering, and the very Catholic version, by the way, it's the Catholic version. I wonder where this is going.
The Novus Ordo Catholics.
There's something, I just found it to be peculiar.
Well,
and then he says Palmist, which makes me think that there's somebody on his speech writing staff that's probably I'm thinking charismatic Catholic. That's what, and they're starting to slip this stuff in. He may have no interest at all. I mean, you can't tell with him.
Well,
but something's amiss.
Well, I would say if you read Cardinal Vigano's multiple open letters, that the Vatican and the Pope, specifically this Pope, is all in with this bullcrap, with the shutdown, with the Build Back Better, with the Great Reset, with China.
Yeah, no, he's a globalist.
Yeah, total globalist. So,
which is very weird for a Catholic pope. I mean, they want to be involved, but they got their little niche. They don't want, the last time the globalists come around, that's Hitler. Hitler was a globalist,
yes.
by the way.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Anyway, I got one other thing.
We should try that again. We should try that whole globalist thing again. See how it works out this time.
Here's a 5-second clip. Biden assertion. I don't know what this is. I can't remember this one.
Okay.
That out of pain comes possibility. Out of frustration comes progress.
How does out of pain come possibility? What does that got to do with anything?
That out of pain comes possibility. Out of frustration comes progress.
I think it's the same speechwriter. He's just hung up on P's. He's like pain, possibility, palm. He didn't want to screw up his rhyming, his alliteration.
I just found the whole speech to be rather odd. But they loved it. Oh, great speech. Oh, he came. Now, by the way, here's something else to look out for. Instead of playing Biden clips, because he has so many gaffes, they're reading the clips.
Reading the clips?
The news media will take a Biden, something Biden said.
Oh, wow. That's how they get around it, huh? So they'll just show some B-roll of him bumbling, and then they'll read what he said. Oh,
they have it on. They usually put the read on the screen.
This is very good. We have to try and get this. We'll do what the M5M said and what Joe really said.
That will come up.
That's going to be a good segment. Well, for sure, I'm sorry?
I'm saying that's pretty much all I got from Biden.
Well, I do have some of the beauty that the Biden Build Back Better team will be bringing us.
The Biden camp wants to crack down on guns when they take office. Hillary Vaughan is with us. Hillary, a gun tax, is that what's being floated?
Gun tax, yeah.
Essentially, yes, at the end of the day, Stuart, because under Biden's gun safety plan, he wants to charge people to keep their semi-automatic rifles, that's AR-15s and high-capacity magazine guns. And in order to do that, people have two options under this plan. Either give your gun up to the government, or you have to register it under the National Firearms Act. That's where the tax comes in. To do that, you have to fill out a 13-page application, submit your fingerprints, a photo of yourself, and pay a $200 tax. But the problem is, a lot of people own more than one gun, and a lot of people making under $400,000 own firearms. So basically, people are saying that this ultimately is going to be a tax on people who make under $400,000, which is something Biden has promised not to do. Stuart?
Got it and understood.
I love how they make that the issue. How about the fact that you're making laws about gun ownership? Idiots.
It's illegal.
Of course,
here's another interesting thing about that clip.
Illegal. Yeah,
is I thought these high capacity magazines were outlawed.
No.
Well, they talk a big game about them being outlawed.
California. California has, I think, a 10 round max in the magazine.
That could be.
I think. Well, look, California, you got lots of restrictions, no doubt about it.
Also, California, Steck sent me a map showing that Washington State, you can get a concealed carry. Doesn't mean you get one in California, which is news to me. But I started looking at the concealed carry map, and it's like if you can see the black states means there's no, if you get a concealed carry permit in Texas, that doesn't, you can't use it in California. But with Texas, you can use it in most of the country.
A lot of the country, yeah, for sure.
The majority of the country, you can use the Texas one.
Yep.
And you can see that in California, click on it, they got a few states, but you click on Oregon, if you get a concealed carry permit in Oregon, the whole country goes black. It's as though everyone in Oregon is so nuts that the entire country knows that they won't. No. We don't want any crazy Oregonians coming around with their concealed carry. This map is quite fascinating.
Well
but when you start reading the part underneath it, they're talking about there's a big issue going on with concealed carry, which is, can you wear a COVID mask while you're concealed carry?
Oh, yeah, because that's kind of a robber's outfit.
And so there's a big controversy going on. And so they've come to the conclusion that you can wear both. You can have the COVID mask on with the concealed carry, but you can't do it while committing a crime.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay.
But it's interesting how you note that the whole country, except for Oregon and California, I mean, have you considered that that's maybe you actually live in a foreign country there in California, and you should think about getting a passport? Because it's literally not a part of the country anymore. In spirit, I should say. It's not. I mean,
you have concealed carry in California. You can conceal carry in Nebraska.
Yeah, but you can't. Okay, I can't use my concealed carry in California.
Texas might be on there, but Texas is pretty. They've gotten to the point. This is why I think the Oregon thing's so funny. With Texas, it's like, well, everyone's got. They're used to these concealed carry, so they're probably pretty safe. Once they get outside of Texas. So we do cooperative deals with them. But with Oregon, they've decided, no, Oregonians are not safe under any circumstances.
I'm a fan of open carry. And when I get my I think it's a TLC, license to carry, or LTC, whatever it is. And by the way, the keeper and I are going. I like open carry. I would prefer to just open carry because I state my business right away. And you can open carry in Texas. As long as you have a concealed carry permit, you can open carry a long gun, a rifle, an AK-47 or AR-15 as you prefer, or whatever, a shotgun. You can only open carry a pistol, a handgun if you have a concealed carry. I think that's the way to go.
I thought it was just open carry. You didn't need a concealed carry.
No, they changed that. You do. I believe for handgun open carry in Texas, you need a concealed carry to open carry as well. But regardless, that's all going to go away, or they're going to try to do that, because this is the Biden administration, and we're going to build back better with the entire world.
For a better life beyond your freedom, build back better. For someone else.
Let's talk about the incredible international douchebags that are in the possible administration for Joe Biden. I heard Mike Morrell may be coming on to run the CIA.
Makes sense. CBS, CIA, starts with the CIA, goes to CBS, comes back to CBS.
Comes right back. It's a round robin.
Never left.
Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I'm sure that's what spurred the 30,000 Dow. Oh, Janet's going to be the Secretary of the Treasury. Woo-hoo, it's going to be great. Did Horowitz have anything to say about that?
Thought it was funny.
He thought it was funny?
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
I thought it was funny. I mean, it's just the same thing, the revolving door.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's not a bad person.
The former New York banker, I think she went to his school. And he said that he really likes her. she just looks like
a lot of people like her. She could have stayed in as the head of the Fed, but Trump just had to get his own person in there.
Well, he didn't. He didn't get his gold bug. He tried to get that person in. I forget her name, and she was rejected by the Senate. I'm not quite sure why.
I think you already explained it. Gold bug.
Gold bug. Yeah, there you go. Then there's this interesting, going back to Build Back Better, which I think a lot of people are now picking up on. It's too late, by the way, if you're picking up on it. And there's this great press release from the Prime Minister of Canada, and it's on the pm.gc.ca website, so you know it's real. And this is from June 11th from this year, so this is several months ago. Prime Minister Trudeau speaks with His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, and the Commonwealth Group of Permanent Representatives to the United Nations. And in this, let's see, the Prime Minister, His Royal Highness, and the permanent representatives discussed economic recovery and sustainability initiatives that will support the objectives of the Great Reset. This is in his own document. The Prime Minister also underscored Canada's continued commitment to climate action and announced a new contribution to the Climate Finance Access Network. This contribution will help some of the most climate vulnerable countries, notably blah, 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 blah. So they literally put the Great Reset into their press releases. This is not just Davos. This is really happening. This is well, but when you hear Klaus say it, it's one thing, but when you see it written in policy documents from the Canadian government, it's a little more. Here, the Prime Minister also, this is from the same release, spoke about the joint initiative he recently launched with the United Nations Secretary General and the Prime Minister of Jamaica to accelerate the global response to the pandemic. The initiative emphasizes the need to improve access to critical development financing, including low and middle income countries, to help them recover and build back better, creating more prosperous, resilient, and inclusive economies and societies. It's going to be a very dark winter indeed. If these guys really pull this off, and I don't see why they wouldn't, they have all the tools, it's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, it's not going to work if the economy collapses.
Okay. Why not?
Because there's going to be too much other crap to deal with, like people rioting in the streets, growth of the homeless. I mean, they can't manage it. That's why not. There's only so much you can do in a day.
Yeah, but I think they'll still put it all under the Build Back Better banner and just say we're doing stuff.
Well, we'll see it.
Digital dollars, baby. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix the economy. Get that central bank digital coin in here.
Yeah, well, I'm not optimistic about their. I don't know. I am. I'm optimistic that they won't succeed.
Oh, well, I'm optimistic for the show because it's going to be a great thing to follow.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
There seem to be a lot of people traveling today.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a lot of people to thank for show
1298.
1398.
No, 1298.
1998. That would, I will not, no, there's no way. Starting at the top of the list is Dreb Scott, the Earl at Large. $107.28. Scott Smith's next on the list from Noblesville, Indiana, 100. Terry Wentz in Langley, Washington, 7533. Brian McIver in Portage, Michigan, 6666. Sir Gary Blatt in Wayne, Pennsylvania, 6660. David Forbes in Shakopee, Minnesota, 6006, small breasts.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel Pope in Cherokee Village, Arkansas, 60. This is not a huge list today, by the way. People, they're doing Thanksgiving stuff.
Yeah.
Stuart Walton in Stafford, UK, 56. Got a birthday call out. We got you on there.
We sure do.
So we also have Scott on the list, if you're wondering. And there's another Scott Jalbert in Columbia, South Carolina. No birthday for him, 5533. Jennifer Sayer, 5510.
Now, hold on a second. I saw this email come in, but I don't know if the back office has accounted for it. She wanted to take advantage of Stronimus of Dogpatch and Lower Soblovia's Dame Drive offer.
Yeah.
Has this been done?
Well,
she's not being damed today, so I just want to know how that works. But
she puts her name in the hopper, and then we think about it. And then
okay. All right. Just want to make sure we know it's in the hopper.
It's in the hopper.
Okay.
I have to go find her email, see what she's doing. I think, we don't have enough proper criteria. This is going to be pretty arbitrary, I think. So get on board.
Well, it's arbitrary.
Surprise night of the astonishment in Yukon Oklahoma. Is that right? There's a Yukon, Oklahoma. John Gaynor in Aldie, Virginia, 5280. Yukon was 5444. Dustin Road in Springfield, Missouri, 52. He's got a long note there. Check it out. And a birthday. Patrick Nestor in Saint-Sauveur, Quebec, 5151. Kevin Carlisle in Birmingham, Alabama, 5115. Scott Nelson in Council Bluffs, Iowa, 5001. Oh, we need a de-douching for Kevin. Kevin Carlisle.
You've been de-douched.
Scott Nelson, we did. Todd Grubb in Capac, Michigan. I'm sure it's pronounced some other way. CAPAC. 50. These are $50 donors, name and location as we go. What is this? Dabby? Dabble?
Debbie.
Debbie I. Cornyn from the Cornyn Drug Store in Pincher Creek, Alberta, Canada. Well, good. You buy your drugs there. Nicholas Way. I'd like a note from her about the Canadians changing their rules about the codeine and aspirin sales.
Oh, you can't sell those together anymore? That's the whole reason to go to Scandinavia.
It used to be. I need the information.
Do you remember this?
Nicholas,
do you remember when, at least I do, people would go, hey, man, I got codeine from Canada. And it would be like a cool thing to pop aspirin codeine. Now
There's not enough codeine in that. The combination of aspirin and codeine is a very well-established analgesic. There's really not a lot of codeine. It just takes a little bit to make that work.
I'm just telling you, that's what it used to be. That people would be like, hey, man, I got some codeine from Canada.
Yeah, I can get it from somewhere else, that's my opinion. Nicholas Wagenfeiler in Havre de Grace. Oh, brother. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's in Maryland, so it's got to have a weird pronunciation. Renee Tabak.
Renee Tabak.
Tabak, which means tobacco.
Mm-hmm, it sure does.
In Meppel, Netherlands. Robley Hall in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Jesus Allen in Austin. John Lawrence, parts unknown. Yemi Falhave. Okay. Help me out here.
I would say Yemi Fawahinmi, who was hesitant to listen to the show because Yemi says, I remember John C. Dvorak from Twit and was wary of everything from Silicon Valley and technology after Gamergate. Then Adam went on the Tom Woods show, and I've been hooked ever since. Ha! Please
Tom Woods has got more pull than Leo.
You've been de-douched.
He's got a lot
Cassidy
more
of Dimension A in Oklahoma City. She says, listening to your Thanksgiving show is a cherished part of the holiday in my household.
Aw.
Oh, well, that's
so nice.
Alexa Delgado in Aptos, California. And last but not least on this list, short list, is Sir Alan Bean, who's now in, he's actually an Earl, I think, in Tigard, Oregon. I want to thank these folks for making show 1298 two-way possible by helping us produce this. Thanks.
Yes, and Dustin Reed, I think, R-O-E-D, Reed, did. He says, my mom was recently diagnosed with cancer, and a dose of F cancer karma would be appreciated. So we always break for that.
You've got karma.
Thanks to these producers of the best podcast in the universe. And, of course, we stop at $50 so people can definitely remain anonymous under $50. That's why we've got those $49.99s and more. And also, if you go to Dvorak.org/NA, you can find a number of ways that you can sign up for something a little more regular, like a 3333 or an 1111 or 1212. There's so many different programs we have. And for that, please go to our handy website,
Dvorak.org/NA.
And thank you all so much for your courage. One final jobs karma for anybody who needs
jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Oh, man, we are getting towards the end of November the 26th. We have a birthday list here. We've got Scott Smith celebrating on the 4th of September. That must be a very old one we forgot. Faithin Basor says happy birthday to her wonderful husband Dave, who turned 47 on the 23rd of November. Stuart Walton celebrates today, as does Dustin Rood, R-O-E-D. Stefan says, Stefan celebrates his 40th on December 1st. And Brandon, the pinball wizard of the Freak Show, celebrates his birthday today. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't wanna be a douchebag.
No knights and dames on your Thanksgiving holiday, but we do have a title change for Sir Walkman, who ups his ante once more with another total $1,000 in support of the No Agenda show and becomes a Duke today, and thank you very much. I don't know if he has a protector, but he should probably let us know about that. And thank you as well for producing the best podcast in the universe, the No Agenda show. Time for our meetups.
No Agenda meetups.
Just like a party. NoAgendaMeetups.com is where you can find every single one of our meetups that are listed. I'm not doing the virtual ones anymore, the Jitsi virtual meetups, because there's all kinds of people bitching about who's organizing it. So I'm just taking that off the list for good. But the real meetups, the ones that take place in person, are very important. This is where you can hang out with fellow citizens of Gitmo Nation. Tomorrow, the No Agenda Block Party in Los Angeles. This is a big one at 7 o'clock. It's a walking party, so make sure you find out what Alan has organized for you by going to noagendameetups.com. That should be a fun one, walking in Los Angeles. What could possibly go wrong? Saturday, the Leftovers walk off Maybury State Park. That's in Michigan at noon, and that'll be Trailhead 1 parking lot. Sir Timothy of No Fixed Title organizing that. Also on Saturday, the Post-Turkey Open Range and Meetup in the Redwoods of Santa Cruz Mountains. Baron of Silicon Valley is your host for it. On Wednesday, the Hurricane No Agenda Rooftop St. Beach Meetup at 11 a.m. It's every first Wednesday. Like a Party Meetup at the Hurricane Seafood Restaurant on December 4th. That's next Friday. The Kawartha Cottage Country Meetup in Ontario, Scandinavia, and organizer of that is Sir Richard Knight of the Kawarthas. On the way, on the 5th of December, Springfield, Missouri, the 6th, Ybor City, Tampa, Florida, Ybor, with a Y. Ybor. Also on the 6th, the Philadelphia Local 76, the New Orleans area meetup on December 12th, as well as a meetup in Houston, Texas, Columbus, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and on the 16th of December, Bothell, Washington, and the 19th, Nashville No Agenda. If you are anywhere near any of these, I highly recommend you go check it out. It's no triggering. It's a bunch of cool people you might not ever meet in any other circumstance, but somehow you all feel part of the same family. It is indeed a little bit like a party. So please go to noagendameetups.com. Enjoy your meetup goodness.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same. It's like a party.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where everyone feels the same. It's like a party.
Yes, it's working. Our human resource mind control. The kids love our jingles. They do.
Party.
It's a fact.
Like a party.
It's like a party. It's a fact.
So I want to play the second half of that McClintock clip when he's in front of Congress bitching about.
Yes, the lone Republican from California.
But before we do that, I got some ISOs to run by.
Yes. We do need some ISOs. Okay, what you got for me?
I got Think About That.
Okay, hold on. Think about that.
And I want you to think about that.
Okay, good.
It came up better than I thought. True.
It's true?
Okay.
That's not as good.
No.
Then I got a Zoom something. I forgot this from a Zoom call or something. Not sure.
Better to have a Zoom Thanksgiving than an ICU Christmas.
Oh, yeah. That was a beauty.
Besides it
That's a phrase from the Shays.
It's morbid. I think, personally, I kind of like the...
And I want you to think about that.
It's kind of okay.
Yeah, it works, I think, for the show.
Let me see. What's the true one? Let me listen to that again.
It's true?
Nah,
Who is that, by the way? Who is that? Okay.
It's funny. It's from one of the clips, and I don't think I kept the clip.
That's okay. It's okay.
I like the Zoom. It's from one of the reports on the COVID. But I like the Zoom one. I think the other one, you got to play it one more time.
But the Zoom is too long.
Better to have a Zoom Thanksgiving than an ICU Christmas.
I just wanted to play it again.
Yeah, it's good.
Maybe it's too long.
No, not maybe. It's too long.
So let's play the second half of this. Is where McClintock goes on about mask wearing in California and eating.
And that a fool with power can quickly become a petty tyrant. Which brings us back to Governor Newsom. These government nannies love to tell us that they're just following the science. Well, what does the science actually tell us? It tells us that COVID poses virtually no risk to children, but it can be severe among the elderly. So what did these lockdown leftists do? They closed all the schools and ordered infected patients into nursing homes. The science tells us that outdoor transmissions of the virus are extremely rare and that 80% of infections occur in people's homes. So what did these lockdown leftists do? They closed our beaches, parks, and campgrounds and ordered people to stay at home. The science tells us that obesity is a contributing factor to the severity of the disease. So what did these lockdown leftists do? They closed all the gyms and kept the liquor stores open. These lockdowns haven't saved lives. The states with the most stringent lockdowns generally have the highest mortality rates from COVID. Utah stayed open while next door Colorado shut down. Utah currently has half the COVID mortality rate and 3/4 the unemployment rate as Colorado. But the lockdowns have cost countless lives, from suicides, drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, and deferred health screenings and treatments. Recently, Governor Newsom demanded that restaurant diners replace their masks after every bite, but also minimize the times they're taken off. I guess that means you take really big bites. Thanksgiving dinners are allowed in California, but only when they're held outside. Guests are seated 6 feet apart, and they last no more than 2 hours. Now, it's all right to use the bathroom, but only if it's frequently sanitized. Otherwise, presumably, you'll just have to use the bushes. And for God's sake, no singing.
When you step back and look at it for a second, which I encourage everyone to do, it's kind of crazy. It really
No
is.
singing.
No singing. No singing. They're afraid to do that in Texas. They're afraid. They're afraid to try it again. Even Adler, who typically would be in lockstep with a Cuomo and a Gavin Newsom, and I'm talking about Adler's the mayor of Austin. He's not, the governor is not going to do this. Although I don't trust our governor either. But Adler, man, he would love to lock everybody in his house. In his house, actually, in the W Hotel where he lives. He'd love that.
Yeah, that's right. He lives in the W Hotel in a big suite.
The guy is a very, very wealthy real estate guy. So amidst all of this medical stuff, there was actually some medical news that was released, I believe, with perfect timing, so that it wouldn't really be talked about much.
A historic guilty plea from the pharmaceutical world. Purdue Pharma, the maker of the opioid OxyContin, has pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy and kickback charges. Purdue admitted to paying healthcare providers to get them to write more prescriptions for its opioid products and to impeding the government's investigation. The company, which filed for bankruptcy a year ago, faces a more than $3 billion billion fine, as well as a $2 billion forfeiture judgment. Prosecutors say they took Purdue's bankruptcy filing into account when deciding on a sentence.
I don't understand the emphasis on billion. $3 billion. $3 billion is nothing for the destruction these people caused. And they're admitting the guilt. They're admitting they bribed doctors, the pill mills. I mean, there should be people going to serious jail and or the chair.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is
they're
murder.
mass murderers.
Murderers. They should really go. I mean, people should be
somebody
really
should
going.
file a murder indictment.
We're too busy. We're building back better, John. Don't you want a great reset? It's time to forget all these horrible things. Move
I had
forward.
a great reset the other day.
You did?
Yeah, but I had some windows come up on the machine that were I couldn't get rid of them. I tried it through Task Manager.
And you hit the great
reset. I had to push the button. It was a great reset.
All right. Well, what are you having for Thanksgiving? Are you having any family over? Is this taking place? No, wait, let me guess. No one's
We're doing a
coming
big
over.
Zoom call that you can or may or may not be in on.
I got the invite. It's the Dvoraks, the Horowitzes, and the Currys on a Zoom call.
And also Eric and the Mackeys.
And the Mackeys on the Zoom call.
With the kids.
So you're just there by yourself, you and Jay?
And Jay's here.
So just
and
the
also
two of you?
JC and Jesse, I think, will be on the call. It'd be a big call.
No, hold on. No one's coming.
And I'm going to publish the address so anybody, maybe I'll put it up on Mastodon, and then we're going to just jump in.
That's a great.
Would that be funny?
That's a great idea.
I'll see if I can get Jeffrey Toobin to come on board.
That's a great idea. If you don't do it, I'm going to do it. That's hilarious. 9:00 Eastern, 8 Central. It's going to be dynamite. We'll be building back better with the crew. Can you imagine how funny that's going to be? You better do it. You better be posting that on the Mastodon.
Horowitz will be sending out the notice. I think you've already gotten the notice.
Yes, I did.
Addresses and stuff.
You mean Horowitz, the liberal Democrat?
He is a liberal Democrat. You know, we did talk. He came out guilt-ridden, by the way.
I heard it.
Last anecdote for the show.
I heard it. It was hilarious. Well, you have to go back and explain what happened, the setup. We were talking about.
Okay, we were talking just hypothetically about people that don't want to admit to having COVID because this is one of our topics of discussion and how they're shamed. You did a whole set on it today. And, you know, people are ashamed of themselves. Oh, I feel so bad. And it's always these liberals, you know, because I didn't follow the rules. Only Republicans should get the disease. So we made some reference to the one guy we both know.
Yeah.
And Horowitz figured it was him.
It was him, of course.
Well, yeah, it was actually.
It was. Don't lie. It was.
So he comes on and he goes on. He makes the admission that he had COVID. And I said, well, you know. I said, and he denied being a liberal Democrat. I said, well, why are you so ashamed of having the COVID? And, you know, he says, and he didn't really have any much symptoms. He wasn't even down for a day. It was nothing.
His nose hurt. That was about it.
And so then I did throw the one line in. I says, you know, he said, I'm not a liberal Democrat. And I said, really? What does Sharon think? Sharon.
His sister is MAGA.
Is his sister. And Sharon thinks, and he made the right answer. It's very funny. She thinks I'm a communist, which she does, I'm sure.
Speaking of such, and that'll be my last one. I called one of the Zoomers a bad communist for wanting a certain item. I said, you're a shitty communist. And the answer came back, and we must remember this. No. I'm a Neiman Marxist. I had not heard that one.
Oh, that's a great line.
I think I was flabbergasted, and I love it because we can use this for pretty much anybody. A Neiman Marxist. Neiman Marxist.
Well, good writing is where you find it.
Only one end of show mix for today, everybody. It'll be the full Jeff Smith Build Back Better song. It is up for sale for any globalist who would like to license it from the No Agenda Gitmo Nation Jeff Smith Publishing Company, which now exists. It's our exit strategy. Oh, can you imagine how much dough we could make if that thing became a hit worldwide? The sync rights alone. Oh, my God. Here's your exit strategy, everybody. Make sure you turn on your favorite globalist to this next song. Happy Thanksgiving, John. Happy Thanksgiving to all the producers in Gitmo Nation. And I look forward to seeing you on the Zoom tonight with everybody else. Coming to you
Sounds like a winner. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yes. Coming to you
and
from...
everybody out there, by the way. The whole listener. People especially stuck with us on the chat room.
Yes. How many people stuck with us? Let's see. Oh, we only lost 200. Now 500. Oh, well. Hey.
So what's the total there? 11?
It's 1,100, yeah.
That's a lot.
Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Have a great and happy Thanksgiving, no matter where you are, even if you don't celebrate it. We love you. Adios, mofos. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C., as in C. Dvorak.
Adios and such.
Befriending everyone, blossoming around us, boldness of the brave, pushing aside an open mind to be like everyone. Build back better, bend down on bended knee, bear the brunt of all the burdens like broken ones should be. Build with blinded loyalty, back the better ones than you, for a better life beyond your freedom. Build back better for someone else. Build back better, bend down on bended knee. Ooh, yeah. Bear the brunt of all the burdens like broken ones should be. Build with blinded loyalty, back the better ones than you, for a better life beyond your freedom. Build back better for someone else.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And I want you to think about that.